Good morning, friends, and welcome you all in this session of Cost and Management Accounting. And we will be starting the session. We are supposed to start. We will be all the topics which we have promised, the Board of Studies has promised you, and in detail. So welcome all the students, and on behalf of Board of Studies, myself, Dr. N. Gupta, and my colleague, CA Mayank Jain, would like to welcome the faculty member, CA Bishal Poddar. Poddarji, welcome to this particular. Thank you very much for giving your time. Friends, whoever has joined, I could see that a large number of has joined in this particular session. And it's very heartening to see that the enthusiasm you have in this particular classes. Obviously, we all know that this is an important area, important subject. So few of the areas of this particular subject I would like to discuss with you for a few minutes. Then Mr. Poddar will take it forward. So about the syllabus. So is this the overview of cost and management accounting where the entry sheet is there? So today, sir will be taking you through this introduction to cost and management accounting. And then there is a part of cost sheet in this, and this total weightage is around 10 to 15%. Then the second part, the assessment part, which is very, very important, where material cost is there, employee cost is there. Employee cost, which earlier was basically known as labor, then overhead, ABC, and recording and accounting cost, which is the non-integrated and integrated accounting system. Then different methods of costing. There is job costing, batch costing, process costing, and costing of service sector. And the last part, which is very important, for decision making, standard costing, marginal costing, and budgetary control. So there is a specific way and specific marks is given. But I think what we should follow is a very simple way of doing it that give importance to each and every chapter of this particular subject. This is a numerical subject, and practical application is there. And this subject require both the things. एक तो आपको conceptually you need to understand. Conceptually is whatever may be the concept you need to understand. Second, आपको practice बहुत करना है. You need to practice a lot to grasp this particular subject, because there are a lot of numeric, there are a lot of parts which is very, very important for us to this subject, how this subject can be grasped. A few very quickly before Vishalji starts, that in each of the topic, a very quick I'll go. This is obviously the weightage you have, the knowledge and comprehension. The theoretical part is around 20 to 30%, and application part is there around 70 to 80%. Marks bifurcation. There is question number 1, which is a compulsory question. Okay, and that question in the MCQ part out of the 30. So that part is there. 30. There are 2 case scenario, 10 marks each, and 5 caselets of 2 marks each. That's the 30 question. And in the descriptive part, there is 1 compulsory question of 14 marks. And then out of the rest 5 question, you need to attempt 4. So you can refer to the question paper, which will be there for May examination, as well as which will be for the upcoming examination in September 2024. So you can always refer to those question paper, that how the question paper is coming. These good habits and other things, obviously, we'll be discussing in detail. Now, very briefly, 2 minutes, I will just spend about the overall subject. This introduction, sir, will be taking. So overall material, if you see, some very important part which you need to consider is from the practical point of view, numericals related to the economic order quantity, related to various levels of inventory, related to stores ledger, related to inventory ratio. And as you can see, waste, scrap, spoilage, defective, and their treatment. So these are some of the very important part of the material costing which you need to understand. Obviously, there will be formula and treatment. Again, you can prepare in your own chart. The faculty will be teaching you. You can prepare your own notes so that before examination you can refer to those notes as well. Then there is employee cost. In the employee cost, a few things which you need to concentrate. You need to understand that how this wage and incentive payment system work. Two, bonus system, which is very, very important for you to understand, is bonus of by Halsey and Rawan. Then the treatment of overtime and idle time. Idle time again can be two type: normal idle time and abnormal idle time. So you need to understand both the things. Then you will find there is a employee turnover method, and there are few techniques you need to understand those as well. Then overhead, estimation, allocation, apportionment, and when you will be doing the reapportionment. So you need to understand these terms first of all. And when you will be doing the reapportionment, how this reapportionment can be done in an effective way. That's one of the very important thing you need to grasp. Then the next chapter will be based on activity-based costing. So activity-based costing, which is a very accurate technique of cost apportionment over traditional costing. So how it is better, how it is more accurate, and in the service sector also this is now widely used. You need to understand that. While material, you also need to connect it with the GST. In fact, incidentally, Mr. Poddar is also an expert in the area of GST. So while calculating the material cost, how GST can be the recent past included question is in RTPs and MTPs and in the study material. So you can once again understand that these are the way format. So a particular format we are following in the study material, which is as per the latest practice. Okay. And so how those treatments are there, which items will come where, those are again very important thing which you need to take into consideration. Then non-integrated, integrated, basically you have to concentrate on the reconciliation. So profit can be calculated as per cost accounting. Profit can be calculated as per the financial accounting. How you can arrive profit from one area to another area. That is one of the very important things which you need to consider. Then different methods will start. So it will be unit costing, batch costing, then process costing. Mind you, please keep in mind contract costing is not part of your syllabus. Okay. So process costing, and then from the process costing, you can go for joint product and byproduct. Okay. So what do you mean by joint product? What do you mean by joint product? And how you are going to do all these things. In the process costing, equivalent cost. Okay, when the unit is not completed, how those equivalent cost is calculated, how the treatment of normal loss, abnormal loss is done, how the inter-process profit is calculated. So that's another important thing which you need to see. Then there is joint product, concept of joint product, concept of byproduct, concept of co-product, and how you are going to apportion the joint cost over the joint product. Various treatment, obviously, that is also part of the things. Then very, very important, again, from the numerical point of view, the service costing. There are various service sector which is included in your syllabus, like transport, like hotel and lodges, hospitals, information technology, toll roads, educational institution, insurance, financial institute, and a few others. Then standard costing, and I will request in standard costing all of you to understand the concepts. rather than mugging the formula. Understand the concept and practice a lot. Obviously, a summary will be provided to you by the respective faculty, and you will be getting some numerical also. And at last, another decision making related chapter, which is the costing as per the marginal costing. Okay. And in the marginal costing, along with the traditional questions, what you need to concentrate on various decision making process. Okay. So that make or buy or key factor, those kind of things is now included in the syllabus. So that you need to concentrate. And as at last, the chapter of budget, different kind of budget you need to understand, capacity wise, function wise, master budget, then period wise, what are the different kind of budget. And one very important thing in this budget is the flexible budget. Flexible budget where the condition are flexible. So different capacity, different condition, how you are going to prepare the budget. So that's going to be another another very important area. The difference between fixed budget and flexible budget, obviously, you need to go through and you need to understand. But the practical application of flexible budget, I think the most important area in this budgetary control. So overall, if I just summarize that how this subject is look like. So this is basically the overall part. So slowly, particularly the people who will be starting from the scratch, you start slowly, try to understand the concept. Today, sir will be giving you the overview of introduction to cost and management accounting. And then later on, he will be talking about the material, different numericals. I will also request sir to get some of the numerical practice in the class itself, so that they not only understand the concept, but also, they can understand, they can practice, and they can do well in the examination condition. Later on, when the students you will be having good idea, good number of practice, please practice the mock test paper. Previous mock test paper, which is already there on the website, you can practice those mock test paper, or the mock test paper as the previous paper as a mock test paper. And those mock test paper you should be practicing in exam like condition. So even if you are appearing at home, maybe 3 hours is the stipulated period of time. And in fact, you should try to finish at 2 hours, 45 minutes, 50 minutes later on. So make yourself accustomed with this particular subject. And I'll request you to give due importance to this particular subject. Because we have seen this is the subject where people face problem. Because as I told you, इसमें conceptual understanding भी चाहिए आपको. This requires conceptual understanding. और इसमें बहुत practice चाहिए. मतलब like any other numerical paper, इसमें हर तरीके का question का अपना practice चाहिए. With this, once again, I would like to welcome CA Bishal Poddar ji to our class. Thank you very much. And my dear students, you can enjoy the class. You learn along with, understanding the subject. Slowly, you go take down your notes. So these will be the detailed classes. In fact, for January, the Board of Studies has given for you. So I'm sure that all of you will be very much benefited for these classes. And obviously, in between, if there is any question, examination related, the question generally we don't take. Mainly, we'll be focusing on the academic part, on the teaching part, right? So if specific queries there related to examination, that we may not be taking here, but any query related to academics, any query how to understand this particular subject, we would like to welcome. And once again, I will request you not to do selective study. Each and every chapter, I told you the weightage, but each and every chapter is important. Each and every concept is important. In fact, many of the concepts are interconnected. So that's very important for us to understand and to go through. With this, once again, I would like to thank the technical team and Mayank for arranging everything. Ajit is also there. And sir, I will request you to kindly start the class. Thank you very much.
Good morning, one and all. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yeah. Technical team, I'll request that for first 10 minutes, please allow students to unmute, because in the initial 10 minutes, I'll be having some discussion about the topic. And then maybe I'll request you to mute all of them so that I will be going ahead with my explanation. Yeah. So good morning, students. Myself, CA Vishal Podar. I'll not take time today for my introduction that we can have over the entire process of our classes. Let me directly come to my topic. Now, the subject, as we all know, Asha, one more thing. As I said, we'll first 10 minutes, we'll have some open discussion on the subject, on rather the particular topic that is at my hands. Also, besides this, if you have any questions, you may start putting it in. I think we have a chat box. Do we also have a Q&A section, technical team? So there is a separate Q&A section because in chat, many people are putting good morning. So I think question answers, everything will be clubbed. So there are two sections. One is chat and one is Q&A, right? Sorry. Acha, portal. So then, if I want to check live questions, then no. Then okay, students. Now I'll request. Uh, uh, Let us not put any other messages in the chat so that whatever questions you all are raising, I'll not miss those questions. But first 10 minutes, I'll keep the session open. I want some particular insights from your side. And then later on, once I close this discussion option, then you will start putting your questions in the chat, which I'll be engaging during the time of my deliberation. And towards the end, again, for the next last 10-15 minutes, I'll keep it open. Or whenever I want, we keep it open in the between. So welcome, students. And I'm happy to see you all in such a good number. And I'm 100% sure that whoever are regular in the classes and joining live, they would be benefited the most. So I'm sure recordings are also available, but I'll request everybody present over here to join the classes live for two major reasons. One, it inculcates a discipline and you regularly attend the classes and you are in sync with the topic. So you are always in touch with the flow. Second most important thing is that when you are live, if any question crops up, because see, all these subjects are new. Actual CA curriculum starts at the interstage. So when you join the classes live, when you are understanding the topic, you can immediately ask the faculty. Or let us say yesterday you have attended the first session of mine. In the next session, when you again rejoin, whatever you have revised, whatever doubts have cropped up, you can immediately ask and it will get clarified. So I'll request all to be present live. Obviously, you can always refer the recording later. Now, students, my question is, what is this subject called in general sense? So generally, we all know that there is some name given. Sen Gupta sir has already informed us. But besides this, how is this subject known to all of you all? How do you all call this subject as? Achha, you all may answer in Hindi, English, Gujarati, Marathi. I'm comfortable with these languages. So not a very important bar that everybody should speak in English. But let us make the first 10 minutes interactive. Yes. So how is this subject known to you all? आप इसे किस नाम से बुलाते हैं? In general, how students address this subject? Chalo, fast, give me inputs so that I'll start writing and I will start the deliberation. Yes, students. What is the name of this subject generally known to the students? Anybody would like to answer?
Cost accounting.
Costing.
Cost accounting. Okay. Wow. Yes. And one person said costing. So the first interesting part is, as per the name of the subject, it is cost and management accounting. So actually there are two components. One is the cost accounting component and one is the management accounting component. But yes, as rightly pointed out by someone, normally this subject is addressed by students in general or by anybody in general as costing. So my first question to you all is, when there are two different names, one is the cost accounting, which is the name given, and the other is costing, is there a difference between costing and cost accounting? Anybody would like to answer?
So
Actually,
costing is the process of ascertaining what is the value of.
Okay. What is the value of the product? Fine. Okay. That is costing, right? Okay. Anybody else? Either costing or cost accounting?
Recording the cost is called cost accounting.
Okay. So recording the cost is cost accounting. Fine. So somebody said ascertaining, that is costing. Somebody said recording. Excellent. Anybody else would like to chip in with the meanings of these two? Costing, cost accounting?
The process of accounting are done by the cost accounting.
Okay, so it is the process of accounting. Fine, great. Anybody else? What is costing? What is cost accounting? Okay, now I'll discuss. So as very rightly pointed out by many, there is a difference between costing and cost accounting. So costing, again, see, whenever, now I'll just delve slightly from the topic, but I'm going to give you some very relevant information. In English usage, whenever ing is added to any verb, it means a process. So just remember, wherever you will read ing, your answer, specifically the definition or etc., will start with the word process. So what is costing? Again, it is a process. What is cost accounting? It is a process only. But what is the difference between the two processes? Please understand. So costing is the process of, I'll first put it simply, then we'll go to the language used in the module. Anyways, we have to go to the module chapter later on. So it is the process of, I'll use a very simple word, knowing the cost. Or another simple word, finding out the cost. Or a bit technical word for finding out is ascertaining. So in very simple words, let us take a very, very practical example. See, this is a practical subject. Practical does not mean that it is for solving. Practical means it is for practical application in your day-to-day life. In your day-to-day life, we have been doing costing right since our childhood days without even studying this subject. How? I'll give you a very simple example. So let us say you all friends, a group of friends, are planning to go for a trip. And you are planning to go for a trip to some place within your city limits, and it is a one-day trip. Now you have to plan this trip. Now, when you say you have to plan this trip, what is required is, one very important thing is taking contributions from everyone, because there is going to be some expenditure incurred. Now, how do you ascertain this contribution? That is the process of what? Of knowing or finding out or calculating the contribution, and it is nothing but the cost. So what we do, we will start listing down. Please note each and every word of mine, because what I'm explaining now is not the theoretical part. It is the most important practical part of the subject. Again, what I mean by practical is not the solving part. What I mean by practical is the application part. So to understand everything in this subject in the future chapters, today's session and all these concepts are very important. So mark my words, each and every word which I'm using. So what I have to do is, when I have to plan for a trip and I have to take contribution from all the people who are joining the trip, I will be doing something what is costing. How? I will list down what all expenses I expect. So mark my words, I'm listing down all the expenses which I expect to incur for this trip. I hope you all can relate. A very simple example. Let us say your trip includes morning going for some trekking, then from there going for a movie, and then from there going for a dinner. Now this whole thing, and you all want to find out roughly, we use this word estimate or budget as to how much would be the cost. We have been using this word in our day-to-day life. We want to know what would be the expected or estimated cost, so that we can inform everyone ki, Are Baba, everybody's share would be this much. So what we did to find out this contribution or share is the process of costing. Now, what is the process of costing? You list down. I will use another word for this. You identify. What have you identified? You have identified what could be my expenses. Most important thing is, this is done on expectation basis. I'll put another word, on estimation basis. Now, this is something interesting. Why it is on expectation or estimation basis? Because costing is generally a pre-activity. What is a pre-activity? Pre-activity means before I actually do my manufacturing, before I actually go for this trip, when I want to estimate, when I want to find out how much I will be incurring, like in case of manufacturing, let us say I'm manufacturing this pen. I want to find out what should be the price of this pen in the market. I want to fix that price. But for fixing that price, I have to first find out how much I will be spending in making this pen or getting this pen ready for the market. That is always a pre-activity, and that is why costing is always on expectation, or more proper word is on estimation basis. And it is estimate about what? It is estimate about the expenses that I will be incurring. Sai, just give me a minute. Let me complete this, and then I'll again open up for your questions. Fine. I'll just complete the concept from my side, then we'll have a discussion again. So please understand this. So what is basically costing is the process by which you will find out how much cost you will incur on a particular subject. I'm using the word subject. Why? Because that subject may be a product, that service of a subject may be a service, or it may be any activity, like going for a trip is an activity. So costing is not only of goods. Let me make this clear. Now in today's scenario, as Sen Gupta sir was informing in the introduction, we are having a very important component of sector-wise costing. And in that, nowadays, service sector costing, like hotels, like even hospitals, because all these have become commercial and all these are now working in a corporate format. Gone are the days when these were pure service sectors where their intention was only to serve people. Gone are those days. Now all these sectors are mainly with the intent of earning profit, and even where the intent is not earning profit. Now this is important. Many times people say that costing use is only for profit-making bodies. Sorry, that is not the case. Costing will be required anywhere where you need to determine the price, when you need to find out the cost. We are going to see what is the object of costing, etc. Now, the point is what? Please understand and appreciate this. The point is that whenever we are dealing with the subject of costing, remember, costing is a pre-activity, as I mentioned already. So when I say costing is a pre-activity, what it means? It simply means that in case of costing, is my screen visible? I don't know why somehow I've changed some setting at my end. Okay. I've mixed something. One second. No, the problem is at my end, OneNote and my video was visible to me. Now either my video is visible or my OneNote is visible. Okay, fine, no problem. I think I just mixed up with some functions. So students, please pay attention to this. I hope everybody understood this point, that costing is a pre-activity and the objective purpose is knowing the price or the cost of this product. Now, as against this, cost accounting, as somebody very well said, it is recording. I'll first use the word, it is accounting, as the name itself suggests. And what is accounting? Again, since ing is used, it is a process. Process of what? Now try to recall your 11th standard commerce days. In 11th standard commerce, we studied the meaning of the word accounting in our first chapter itself, where I hope everybody remembers accounting was defined as recording, classifying, analyzing, vagara, 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 and it ended with reporting. I hope everybody recalls this. Correct now? So try to recall your 11th standard definition of this word accounting. So accounting is standardized. Wherever you read this word accounting, it will always mean the process of recording, classifying, analyzing, and it will end with reporting. So all these stages combined becomes accounting. Now, what is cost accounting? It is simply doing accounting of cost. Now, just pay attention to what I'm going to say next. The process of knowing or calculating or finding out my cost is costing. So by this process, by this whole activity, I calculated what will be my cost. Mind my words, I calculated, I determined, I found out. So let us say I could get the figures of cost, some figures I calculated. This process is costing. However, now these figures have to be recorded in my books. And interestingly, how you have your financial accounting books, what you call as accounts normally, we have a separate set of books which is called as cost accounting books, which we are again going to study in one of the chapters. Now, there is a separate accounting of your financial figures. There is a separate accounting of your cost figures. So the point is The difference between costing and cost accounting is costing is the process by which you calculate, compute your cost. Cost accounting is the process by which the same cost, which is calculated by costing, is recorded, classified, analyzed, and finally reports are prepared. Like how in your accounting, the final step is preparation of reports, which is profit and loss, balance sheet, cash flow statements, etc. In the similar fashion, even in our cost accounting subject, after the costing is complete, when we report it, when we record it, it ends with some reports. And that is what is the purpose. So I hope everybody understood this. So again, I'll open my point for discussion or Q&A. So anybody who has a doubt or somebody who raised hand, again, I'll request the team to unmute, allow people to unmute so that we can start discussing on this.
Sir, please explain difference between cost accounting and financial accounting.
Okay, sir, I have not yet come to that. I'll come to that, sir. I'll come to that. That is anyways part of the theory part. But right now I'm going by a sequence, by a flow.
Okay,
So
okay.
anybody has a different question relating to costing, cost accounting? Fine. Okay. Yes, Tambeshwari, please go ahead. You can unmute. Please go ahead. Ask your question. Tambeshwari. Technical team, I hope they can unmute, na?
Hello?
So please ask your question. Yeah, Tambeshwari, please.
I'm audible, sir?
You are audible now.
सर जो संगुप्ता सर ने पीडीएफ डाउनलोड करवाया था वो डाउनलोड हो जाएगा क्या बॉस ऐप पर?
Ma'am, ये सब questions अभी मत पूछो ना, please. That you'll get everything. I think it is available on our portal also, right? Please limit. Sen Gupta sir ने important चीज कही थी. Please limit your questions only to the topic, not about exams or anything. That will be taken care of, or you can always connect the technical team. Put them message in the chat box. They will reply back. Yes, Hardik.
Sir, can we say costing is a unit economics of a product?
Costing is a
Unit economics of a product.
sort of, you can say, but when you say unit economics, I think you are limiting yourself to one single product, right? But that may not be the case always. So it is also for a product, but it is at the same time for entire production, entire batch. But okay, for the time being, I agree with what you have said. Fine. Yes, Satish.
Sir, is it the costing is applicable for non-profit organization for finding the cost?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. You asked something. Yeah.
Non-profit organization for non-profit organization, we want to apply
Costing.
Costing for finding the cost.
Correct. So I think I already covered this in my deliberation, that it is a myth that costing concept is used only by profit making. For any organization today, costing is an integral part. Why? I'll tell you. Because let us say I'm a non-for-profit organization. I'll give you a very simple practical example, Patanjali. So Patanjali is basically NPO. It is registered as a trust. But when it is engaged in any commercial activity, mind my words again, when I'm saying commercial activity, what are the commercial activities done by Patanjali? They are selling so many products. They have a huge product range. Now, once they have to bring something in the market in the form of goods or service, they have to determine a price. And to determine the price, obviously the first step would be costing. So costing is required even by not-for-profit organization. Further, second reason, let us say I'm a trust which is only serving the people. I'm not charging anything. I'm totally doing free. So let us say there is some hospital or there is some educational institution which is charging nothing to the students, nothing to the patients. It is totally philanthropic. Still, they will require costing. Now you'll ask, sir, why? Because anyways, they don't have to fix up a price. Then still, why they require a costing? Because we are going to study in theory again. What are the different purposes and objectives of costing? One of the purpose and objective is price determination. The other purpose objective is even cost control and cost reduction. So even a not-for-profit making organization, which may not be charging any price, may still require costing. Why? Because it has to even work on the control aspect. So costing is a very vast concept and it will be applicable in all types of organizations. Fine. So now I'll proceed with this particular discussion so that we can move ahead. So basically, these are, yeah. Anybody saying something? So basically, these are two different concepts, but they are also interlinked. Now, how they are interlinked, it is interesting to note. So costing is a pre-activity. So let us say for this year, before I start this year, as we prepare budgets, I also do costing at the start of the year because I need to find out the cost. I need to fix up the price. I have done that. So in this sense, costing precedes cost accounting because first I have done costing, and then after that, when the year starts, how you do your normal financial accounting, in the similar fashion, you also start doing your cost accounting. Now, in this sense, you will feel that costing comes first and cost accounting comes later. However, it is cyclical. How? When the second year will approach, I have to again do costing for the second year. But for doing costing, even for doing some estimate, I require some data. This data I get again from my past year records. So in that case, I will refer my past year's records, that is my cost accounting records. From there, I'll get the data, and this data I will use for doing costing, that is estimation for the next year. So that is how it is a cyclical and interlinked process. So first I do costing, that after the year starts, I start recording, reporting, etc. So it becomes cost accounting. Again, when the next year will start, for doing costing again for the next year, the data which I require as my basis will be taken from the cost accounting. So it is an interlinked and a cyclical process. I hope this all is clear. Now I go to another important concept. So in this entire topic of costing, cost accounting, the most important word is cost. Now I'll again request everybody to chip in with what is your understanding of the word cost. Also, please remember, I don't want any technical definitions from the module. Why? Because that anyways we are going to discuss. And now firstly, I want to give you the concept. Once you understand the concept, maybe understanding the module definition and even remembering would be easy. So now my question to you is, we have been using this word costing in our day-to-day usage, as I already gave an example. Tell me, what do you understand by this word cost? So what is cost according to you? Anybody? Okay, people are saying price, people are saying, yes, you can speak, Omkar. Price, actual expense.
Price.
Price, okay.
Expenditure.
Expenses, okay.
Sir, economic
Amount of
measurement.
exchange using term is
Okay.
called costing.
Sir,
Perfect.
the amount we given up to make a product or a provision of service.
Perfect. Great. So what you all said is perfectly right. Right. Now, most important thing about cost is only expenses are regarded as cost. I will not use the term cost for representing my revenue side. Now, we all are from commerce background, so I'm sure everybody understands the difference between expense and revenue. We will never use the term cost for representing anything on our P&L credit side, that is the revenue side. Cost is always a term to represent the P&L debit side, that is your expenses side. So first thing is very clear that cost means expense. Fine. Now comes the most interesting part. Whether all expenses are cost? Answer is no. And here comes the most interesting and important part. Only those expenses, please keep yourself mute. Huh? Only when I ask you all to speak, then only you all will be unmuted. So pay attention. Only those expenses which you can link. I'm using again a simple word first, then I'll go to the technical word. Only those expenses which you can link with the subject. And what is your subject? Your subject may be a product. Your subject may be a service. It may be any activity that you are undertaking. So only those expenses which you can link to a particular product, to a particular service, to a particular activity, only those expenses will become cost. So cost means expenses. Only expenses can be referred as cost. But what expenses? Now on P&L debit side, you have so many items. Whether all those items will be cost? Answer is no. See, first thing we understood over here is we are doing costing of what? Of some subject. I've used this word subject. I'll change it with a technical word in few minutes. So when I'm doing costing of any subject, my subject can be any of these things, whatever I'm dealing with or whatever I have to do costing of. Now, I'll take a simple example. I'm doing costing of this pen. My output, my subject of my business is this pen. I'm making these pens and I'm selling it. Now, when I have to do costing, what I have to do is I want to find out the price, the value of this pen, as we discussed at the start. How do I find out this value? I've already given broad steps. You first list down what are the expected expenses. But when you list down these expected expenses, the most important step in costing is now linking the expense with this particular item. Means what? I have to find out of all my expenses, what are the expenses which are related to that particular product, to that particular service. Again, I'll give a very interesting and simple example. What is the subject for which we have to do costing? Let us say our CA course. Now, this is very common. Many times when students or parents come to me for career counseling or guidance, and when I suggest them CA course, a very first question that comes to me is, Sir, iska kitna kharcha hoga? Sir, what is the budget of this? Now, when I have to give them that budget, what I do is again a costing only. Why? Again, what I'll do is I'll list down. Okay, this will be registration fee. This will be your exam fee. This will be your expense of, let us say, buying some books and all. Now, what I do is I do costing. I will identify what are the expenses. I will make an estimate of these expenses. I'll make a total and I'll say, okay, roughly 2 lakhs will be your cost of doing the entire CA course. Right? Now, interestingly, pay attention. There is one limb left in this. I'll come back to that. Now, what is the CA course? CA course is my subject. Subject means the thing of which I have to do costing of. How did I do costing of CA course? I identified the expenses and I estimated the amount. But only those expenses I considered which were related, which were linkable to my particular subject, that is the CA course. I hope you all understand this. So when I say cost, by cost, I mean expense. But which expense? The expense which are relatable, which are identifiable to my subject. And that is what is the meaning of cost. Now, I'll give you a technical word for this. Till now, I was addressing this as subject, subject, subject. Now, what is this technically called in our costing language? It is called as your cost object. So we are now step by step getting technical with the terminologies. So we have understood costing, we have understood cost accounting. Now we are discussing cost, and in cost, we have come to a technical word, cost object. So what is cost object? Cost object is that product. So in my example, it may be this pen. Cost object may be the service. Let us say I'm into transportation, I'm into hospitality, I'm into some tours and travel. So the subject is the product, the service, or the activity of which costing has to be done. And that is what is technically referred to as the cost object. So cost object is that item of goods or service or any activity of which cost has to be ascertained. Fine. And what is cost? Cost will be only those expenses which is incurred for that product, that service, or that activity, or which is identifiable with that particular cost object. So henceforth, for goods, service, activity, I'll be using the word cost object. Please remember this. Now, when I say expenses which are identifiable, expenses which are related, please understand relations are of two types. One is direct, one is indirect. Now, what is a direct relation? What is an indirect relation? The answer is where I can easily link, I can easily identify how much cost I will be incurring for this particular product or service, that is for the cost object. I can easily identify. It is a direct relation, and that cost is your direct cost. But there could be certain expenses which I know I'm incurring for this, but I cannot easily find out how much. I cannot easily calculate how much. I have to do some roundabout calculation. I have to do some mathematical calculation. I have to do some averaging to roughly estimate how much I would be incurring on this. I cannot do that precisely. But yes, I know it is identifiable with this. I can link it with this. But exactly how much I cannot ascertain. Then those expenses are indirectly related to your cost object, and they are called as indirect cost. Again, we'll take example of the same cost object, that is our CA course. Now, when I have to do costing, as I said, what are my steps? I will list down, I'll identify the expenses. So I'll say, okay, my expenses are registration, it is my foundation, it is my inter, it is my final. Then I may have the exam expense, I may have some study notes or extra reference books. So I have a list of expenses. Now, I have identified the list. Now, out of these expenses, see, all are related. I've only taken those expenses which are related. Anyways, unrelated expense, I will not consider in costing. But in these, if I can precisely estimate, okay, for foundation, registration, this much, this much, this much. For exam fee, this much, this much, this much. I can precisely identify, I can easily identify, then these are direct. But many times you also use a lot of stationery. You may also be doing some traveling. Now, traveling may be applicable to those who are staying in outskirts and who come to the city area, or who are staying in a particular place for their articleship and for going and coming to articleship. Now, there are some of these expenses which are common. Common means you are using it for the CA course also. You are also doing this for your college because you, at the same time you are attending college. So over there also you require stationery. When you are traveling, maybe with the same bike, you are also going to the college, or also going to the CA office for your articleship. You're also going to the library for studying. Also, interestingly, nowadays, internet and your other system related costs. Let us say you have purchased a laptop specially for attending these LVC classes, but at the same time, laptop you're using for other things besides your CA course. Now, there could be some of these expenses which are relatable, but you cannot precisely find out how much, but they are related. You know, I'm using this, I'm incurring these expenses, and they are having some linkage with my CA course, but I cannot identify exactly how much. I have to do some averaging. I have to do some apportioning, bifurcating. Okay, I'll allocate out of total traveling cost this much for CA course. Out of my total internet and all system related costs, I'll put this much to the CA course. Then in that particular case, those expenses which are incurred but cannot be precisely or easily quantified how much I'm incurring for the CA course, those becomes my indirect cost. So cost means expenses which are related. Related can be directly related, that is easily identifiable. Related can be indirectly related, where you have to do some calculation. I hope this is clear to all. And now I'll give you the technical word. So how our module defines cost? It says cost means expenses attributable. This becomes a technical definition. Attributable to what? To your product service activity, which is your cost object. Simple. I hope cost concept is clear to everyone. Anybody has a question, you may please ask. Wow, somebody has a very good question. Sir, laptop can be a capital expense, 100%. At least 2 years life I will expect, not more if. Then the question is how I will include this. Interesting question. So sir, if laptop is a cost, which is obviously it is a cost because you have done some expenditure, but in accounting since it is a capital cost, so how will I consider? Answer is very simple. See, when I say expense, I also said go to your P&L debit side. See, simple. Now in P&L debit side, do you consider laptop? Answer is yes. But do you consider the entire cost? Answer is no. What do you consider for laptop? You consider depreciation. You consider repairs and maintenance. So for all your assets or your capital costs, the expenses which are considered are these for all your assets. So even for laptop, in our example, or any other, let us say your own bike you are using for traveling. So you have to take some cost. Now, what you will take? The depreciation, the regular maintenance. So for capital or the asset items, the cost, what is considered on the P&L debit side is also what is considered in our costing, right? Yes. And any other questions, students, relating to the term cost? No questions? Yeah. Any questions?
Sir, notational means what? What the meaning of notational?
Notional. I'll come. I'm coming step by step. I'll come to notional. Yes. Anybody else?
Sir, in this case only, computer fixed cost. So it is the regular.
One second. Let me correct you. It is not fixed cost. Fixed cost is a concept which we are yet to discuss. So it is not fixed. It is a capital cost. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, sir. In this capital cost, regular usage of the laptop is also comes with the some cost. So do we will consider
example? What do you mean by this regular usage?
Like suppose in 3 years this computer will be disposed. Okay.
Correct.
So suppose the 30,000 is the total cost. Okay. So my per month cost would be somewhere around 300 to 400 rupees. So will we considering this cost or not, sir?
Obviously. See, I'll give you a very simple answer. Everybody, whatever you debit to P&L in accounts, the same logic applies for what is expense to be considered as cost. Now, if you have this doubt or any doubt you have about cost, now look at your P&L side. What you will take in your P&L side, you'll take those expenses. Now, in your example, 300 per month. So that will become my expenses for the purpose of computing cost. Right? Somebody said, I'm a direct entry student being 10 years. I finished college. Should I revise? Please don't ask exam and course related questions. Yeah, good.
Accounting definitions are all memorized or we can understand and go, sir, for exam purpose.
Exactly. So what is your question? I didn't get your doubt or question.
Sir, we have to memorize or understand and go, sir. Which one is?
Okay. See, for exam purposes, majority of these things are not required to be memorized because just do one thing. See your past 4 or 5 exam questions. You'll get to know that here you are not required to learn because they are not asking you straightforward, okay, define cost, define costing and all, right? So it is not required. Only for few concepts, there may be a direct question, but it is not like define. Fine. So I'll proceed.
Yes, sir.
Great. Please don't ask exams or course related questions that either you may connect with the technical team. You can put them in the private chat. They will answer you, or you may connect later on, right? Because our time is very specifically devoted to the topic and we will limit our discussion only to that. Now, moving ahead further. So in costing process, what we did, we identified our expenses. We made estimation of these expenses and only which expenses we are going to consider which are related. And with this, now I give you example. Now, when anybody comes to me for career counseling, and the first question that they ask me, sir, kitna kharcha lagega? What is the budget of this? So what I do is I actually prepare something like this, in which on the top I write CA course, which is our cost object. Now I hope everybody understands what is cost object. It is your goods, it is your service, it is the activity for which you are doing costing. So that is your cost object. And then what I do is I follow the steps of costing. That is, I list down whatever are related expenses. And then I estimate their amount. I calculate the amount. It may be easily calculatable. I can very well find out easily, or it may require some computation, some calculations. And then I make a total. Then I say, okay, boss, your budget for doing this CA course is 2 lakhs over the span of 4 years. Fine. Now, what I have done or what I have prepared, this whole document is now what is technically called as a cost sheet. This is one of our reports of cost accounting, like how you prepare a balance sheet. Here, one of the reports that my cost accounting process gives me is a cost sheet, which is one very important report. So in cost sheet, what I do is I make a tabulation, I make a calculation of the cost, and this whole process is costing. And this cost is what will be used henceforth for all my accounting purposes. So this whole process of costing when it is put down on a piece of paper is a sheet. And on this, I have put down the cost details, and this document, this report, which I will be now using henceforth for my future references, is my cost sheet. So even when anybody comes to me for counseling, at the end, I hand over this paper to them. So I will write CA course. Maybe I'll just write the student's name, and then I will prepare this, Mr. Vishal. And I'll just prepare this. So in the same fashion, you prepare the cost sheet. Yes, obviously the cost sheet format is technical, but it has the same logic. What is the logic? Identify your expenses, list down your expenses, then estimate the cost. Some cost may require some calculation because they are indirect, they are not easily identifiable, and then you make a total. This whole process is costing, and this document which you have prepared is your cost sheet. Fine. I hope things are relatable. You are able to link all the concepts with one another. Fine. Now let me take you ahead with more concepts. Now in this cost sheet, now this whole document is a cost sheet. Please understand this. Now in this cost sheet, when I'm identifying the expenses, now let me take example of some goods item like this pen. Okay. Or chalo, we'll take more practical examples so that you all can relate. I hope everybody had dinner yesterday. Now, what is dinner? Dinner is my cost object. So your yesterday's dinner is the cost object. Now, I want you all to do costing of your yesterday's dinner. Okay? Let us take things practically so that when we are studying the theoretical or the conceptual part, it won't be sounding very theory or unrelatable, because costing is a day-to-day life practical application subject. So now the costing which I have to do is of dinner, yesterday's dinner, which is my cost object. Now here I will add one more concept, that is cost unit. So cost object is understood. Cost object is your goods or your services of which costing is to be done. For the time being, my cost object is dinner. Now I will add one more technical term. Achha. In the meantime, you all start identifying the expenses that is incurred for yesterday's dinner, because now we are doing costing practically. Achha, somebody saying I didn't have dinner. No problem. Whatever was your last dinner, you can consider that for this example. It is not necessary yesterday's dinner. Whatever last you had, 2 days back, 1 month back, 2 months back, whatever, you can consider that. Fine, no problem from my side. Now, another technical and interesting concept of costing is cost unit. Now, what is this cost unit? Yesterday, when you had dinner, and when I'm now asking you to do costing of this dinner, another question may come before you prepare this cost sheet and do costing and find out the cost is, sir, costing kiska karna hai, kiske dinner ka karna hai? Your individual dinner, that is of one plate, or of the dinner which was prepared for the entire family. So that may be a question. Now this question's answer is another technical term, that is cost unit. Now, what is cost unit? Cost unit means the unit for which cost has to be ascertained. Now, what is the unit? It may be you or it may be the family. I hope everybody understood this. So cost object is the product. It is dinner in my example. But dinner for how much quantity, whether one person or for the family, because that will affect the amounts which I'm going to write here. So when you are doing costing, once you have identified the product for which costing has to be done, the second thing you should answer is costing has to be done for what quantity. I'll give you a simple example. We all have biscuits. We all have cookies in today's terminology, right? When I was small, it was called as biscuit. When I grew up, when I came to college, it has been called as biscuit. And now of late, my children call it as cookies. So let us say when I'm doing costing of my cost object, which is the cookie, which I'm selling, which I'm producing and selling, what will be the cost unit? Will it be one piece of cookie? Answer is no. Because cookies are sold in the market in packets. The packet may be of 50 gram or of 100 gram or 250 grams, or it may be wholesale or family pack 500 gram, whatever. Point is, I don't do costing of one piece of biscuit, I do costing of the entire packet of biscuit. So my cost object is biscuit, and the quantity for which I have to find out cost is the packet. So this is the difference between cost unit and cost object, right? Yes, there is some technical language. You have correctly put it is the unit of measurement, but I'm sure nobody will understand what is this technical language meaning unit of measurement. It simply means कितने quantity का मुझे cost बताना है. Again, I repeat, for how much quantity I have to express cost. Express means I have to tell people, okay, this is cost per. What is that per? Per piece, then piece is your cost unit. Per packet, packet is my cost unit. Maybe per carton, carton is my cost unit. So product-wise, the cost unit changes. In the market, when you go to buy any product, how is the price informed? Like another example is pens, the pen that you all are using. The pen in the market is in some packet of 10 pieces or 5 pieces or in some jar of 20 pieces, but the cost is still expressed per pen. So maybe packaging may be in the form of 10 or 5 or 20, but still the price written on that packet is per pen. Why? Because the pen is saleable or is generally sold per unit. So the cost has to be expressed, cost has to be informed per unit. So I have to ascertain the cost per unit. So the quantity for which I have to ascertain and inform the cost is my cost unit. It may be per piece, it may be per packet, it may be per liter, it may be per can of maybe 5 liters, it may be a box containing 500 pieces, etc. So depending upon different products, you have different units of measurement. And it is not the unit of measurement, it means only kgs or liters or unit. It means quantity for which cost is to be expressed. Like in market, certain oil or ghee is available in 2.5 kg or 4 kg or 5 kg packing. So that 4 kg packing becomes your cost unit. That 2.5 liter packing becomes your cost unit because that is how you are expressing the cost. Kya notebook ke pages all page cost? I did not understand. Sir, that means we will do costing for whole thing that we bring and not what we actually using. Okay, that is a different thing. We'll come to what you have asked. So let me now take ahead. So our cost object is dinner, and for the time being, my cost unit is you. So I just want you to do costing of your one plate. Now we start with costing, and my first step in costing is identifying the expenses. So now what we are doing is actual real life costing, and what I'm preparing is a cost sheet. Now just give me the list of expenses that you have incurred in this cost object. So what is the expenses that you have incurred? Chalo fatafat. Okay, dal, gas, atta, groceries. Very good. So I'll just name a few. Okay. So let us say rice. Let us say dal. Let us say wheat, flour. Vegetables. Maybe I'll take any example of 2 vegetables. Potato and lady finger. Then I have used spices, which may be multiple. Right? I have used ghee, I have used oil, I have used even water, even that is a cost, right? But don't you think we are only focusing on one element of cost? Mind each of my words. This is only one element of cost, that is material. Whether this is sufficient to prepare your food, answer is no. There are other elements of cost which are required. So what are those other elements? So now we are coming to a concept that is elements of cost. So the first element is material that we can very well understand. Now give me other items. Yes, somebody has very rightly said vessels. Very good. So I will say, okay, vessels, your gas stove, not the gas is already there in materials. Maybe your other kitchen items or other kitchen accessories like knives and all those things for preparing. Now, since all of these are your capital expenses, what will be the cost that you have incurred is depreciation, repairs, maintenance. If any of these you have rented out, it is the rent or the hire charges. Now, this is your another component of cost, which is called as expenses. So this is material component. The other component is expenses. Great. Anything else? Okay, gas, fuel, cylinder, chef. Yes, good. Now, besides this, there is one more element of cost. So see, this is the second element. The third element is the labor element or the employee cost element. It is the cooking labor. It is the serving labor. It is the cleaning labor. Right? So, in my cost sheet, when I'm doing costing mainly of a manufactured item, so my cost object is a manufactured item, that is goods, my cost could be segregated on the basis of the elements or the components. What are these elements? It could be the material. Generally, it is a major component in any manufactured item. Even in our food, it is the major component, but it is one of the components. There are two other components. They are labor or the employee cost and the expenses on the facilities. I'll use the word facility. So it will be the assets. It will be any other facility that you're using. So in case of a manufacturing scenario, the place that you're using, that is the building, the land, there would be some cost related to that. It would be the depreciation in case of building. In case of land, it would be the rent. Even in case of building, there could be rent. It could be repair maintenance. For other assets like your vehicles, your machineries, your computer systems, again, you'll have these expenses. So these are the expenses on your facilities and the labor component. And that is why when Sen Gupta sir was giving you the brief overview, you found that in your chapters of costing, you have a material cost chapter, you have a labor or the employee cost chapter, and you also have the expenses. Fine. Now, interestingly, as we go ahead, we'll find some more interesting concepts, right? Pay attention. So broadly, concepts of cost are different, but I'm trying to link it so that you get a practical approach to that. In this, we are on this concept of cost, which is called as the elements of cost. And that is broadly three. Now, the proportion of these three will vary depending upon the nature of your cost objects. So generally in a manufactured item, this would be major. But in a service item, like let us say in a transport sector service, in a hospitality service, or even in our coaching service, like let us say we are running this LVC. So what is our major cost? Maybe our material cost is very minimal. What material we are using? Practically nothing, because we are not giving you anything physically. Our major cost is employee cost. And also now, since we are doing it virtually, lot of systems is required. So even our system cost. Please understand this. So depending upon your cost object, the proportion of these may vary. Now, we just discussed that all these expenses which are related to your product, your service, that is your cost object, is expense, is your cost. Now, these are all related. So I've only considered the related item. Here, I will not take your expense related to your CA course. Why? Because it is not related to my dinner cost object. It is related to my another cost object, that is CA course. So I won't consider that here. This is the most important point about cost definition. We only consider the related item or the attributable items. Now, within this, I merge the concept of direct and indirect. Now, out of these material, majority of the materials are easily identifiable. So they would be direct. Those who are not easily identifiable would be indirect. Now, somebody will ask me, sir, what do you mean by easily identifiable, not easily identifiable? I already mentioned in my previous example of CA course. Can you estimate the amount of how much of this material is required? Let us go item wise. Can I estimate how much of rice is required? Yes, we can measure, we can estimate it would be some grams or maybe 1 or 2 cups. Generally, when your mom cooks or anybody in your family cooks, they have this measurement ready. Okay, I will require 2 cups of this. I will require 1 bowl of this. Similarly, for dal, I know the measurement. For this, I know the measurement. For vegetables also, I know the broad idea. These are all easily identifiable. So for my yesterday's dinner, out of material, majority of the material, I could easily identify what I could easily identify how much I consumed or I would require. Those are direct. But then there could be certain items which may either be not easily identifiable, or even if they are easily identifiable, the value is very nominal. Then those are considered as indirect. So if certain item of material cannot be easily computed how much is used. Now, generally, this will not happen with material. It will happen with the other costs. Materials, generally, because they are physical, generally, they are majorly direct. There are indirect material, but they are very less. Like, I'll give you example of indirect material. Somebody will want to know, sir, example though. So, for the cleaning of your kitchen facilities, you require soap. Soap is a material item, yes. But how much soap, please understand this, huh? How much soap is required for your yesterday's dinner, which is your cost object and cost unit, is not easily identifiable. You could identify these things, how much is required for yesterday's dinner, but you cannot identify how much of the cleaning soap is required for yesterday's dinner. So that will become an indirect material. And within spices, I may be able to identify, okay, 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of haldi, but it may be very negligible. The amount that is attributable to that is very negligible. So these are the 2 parameters how you will categorize indirect items. Either it is not identifiable, how much, so example is soap, or it is identifiable, 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, but it is very negligible. The value is very negligible. So that we will classify here. Not easily identifiable or negligible. So within material component, now it could be direct or indirect. Same thing happens with your expense component. Now, as you come to expense, major is indirect, because it is very difficult to identify how much of depreciation of your assets or rent of your facility is identifiable to yesterday's dinner, that also of 1 plate. It is difficult to compute. It is difficult to calculate how much. Then it becomes indirect. But if there is something which is easily identifiable, so let us say yesterday you paid some charges for whatever specific item you ordered from outside. So you paid the delivery charges of 20 rupees. So those delivery charges are easily identifiable, and it is specifically relatable to yesterday's food item only, yesterday's dinner only. So it will become direct. Otherwise, all expenses generally facilitated are indirect, because you cannot identify how much is applicable to my yesterday's cost object and cost unit. And similarly, the labor, direct, indirect. Again, majorly labor also at times, majorly is indirect. Only the labor which is directly involved in production and where you are making payment to them on the basis of production, which we call as the per unit rate of making payment to labor, or the piece rate. How much you produce, I'll pay accordingly. Only that labor is generally direct, where you pay them monthly, or it is a non-production labor like the administrative staff, the accounting staff, the planning staff. It is always indirect. I hope this is clear. Now, somebody was asking me, sir, what is notional? Now, in cost, we know now cost means expenses, but expenses may be actual or notional. And costing says whatever is related to your product, we will consider it, whether it is actual, whether it is notional. Now, somebody will ask me, sir, what is the difference? Actual means what you have recorded, or what you have paid, or now I'm using the technical words used in your module, what is the out-of-pocket cost. Notional is something which you have not actually paid, you have assumed, or you have to just observe and see, acha, haan, ye kharcha ho raha hai, but I'm not paying anything for it. So it is your implied. Like, best example in this cooking is, if you see, maybe except for cleaning, because for that you have a maid. Cooking, mom is doing. serving mom and family members are doing. So there is some labor involved in that. There is some human effort involved in that. I need to do costing for that because I need to find out the complete value of my product. But since I'm not making any payment to them, I don't know how much. It is notional because I'm not making actual payment. But it is there. That labor, in fact, this is the most important labor in the entire dinner. Without cooking, dinner cannot be complete. With only raw materials, with only all the dal and rice and spices, dinner will not happen. For dinner, you require this. So that labor component is the notional. In fact, even in expenses, there is notional. This depreciation is notional. Do you actually incur from your pocket? No. It is just implied. We assume that at the rate of 15%, my machinery is depreciated. So whatever is implied, whatever is assumed, please understand, what is assumed is only the amount. Expense is there. That effort is there. That use of asset is there. But how much we are presuming? So those expenses which are paid from your pocket, which is generally recorded and paid, is what is actual. And what is just assumed, it is there. Expenses is not assumed. Expense is there. But we are not recording it. Why? Because we are not expressly making payment for it. Like let us say owner working in his own business. We are not making payment of any salary to the owner in that particular case, but still that his effort is there. Without his effort, the business may not function. So when you are doing costing, you have to even take value for his effort, his or her effort. That is what is notional. So when I say cost means expense, here I'll add a word. This expense may be actual or notional. The only requirement is it should be related. It should be attributable to my product service activity, which is my cost object. Fine. Great. Anybody has any questions up to this point? So I've covered more concepts like elements of cost. So broadly, the elements of cost are material, expense, and labor. And another concept I covered is notional. Also, I explained you what is the difference between direct cost and indirect cost. And with this example, we also understood how to know which one is direct and which one is indirect. So broadly, all concepts relating to the word cost are also embedded here. Anybody has any questions? Please go ahead, Karan.
Sir, as you said now that owner working in his own business is not getting salary for his, but effort is there. Then if an owner did not get any salary, then how can we calculate the costing?
Good question. So you want to know, sir, how will we find out the notional cost, especially in case of labor, that is the owner? I have the answer, which again you all already know. But that was till date known theoretically. Today you'll understand it practically. Karan, have you heard this word? I'm sure you would have. You would have even learned this because this was repeatedly used in which subject? Economics, right? You agree, Karan?
Yes.
What is this? Can you explain me what is opportunity cost?
The benefit that have been foregone for accepting alternative course of action.
Super, sir. You have used a very right word. The benefit. Now, interestingly, when you studied this definition of opportunity cost, and you also saw the examples of this benefit. What is the benefit? Let us say I could have worked in some other company, so I'm whatever salary I could have earned over there. Now, my question is, when you're talking about benefit or salary, it is actually a revenue item. But we have always referred to it as cost. Why? Because it is that revenue which you could have earned by working somewhere else or by devoting your time and effort somewhere else. But for using your time and effort here, you have foregone that. And a revenue foregone is as good as a cost, is as good as an expense. So, Karan, answering your question, and anybody who has the same question, sir, notional, how will we find out the value? Answer is very simple. You have studied. It is the benefit foregone. It is the value of next best opportunity. If I have not used my asset here, let us say money I am investing. If I would have not put my money here, what I would have done best? I would have put it in FD. I would have put it in some stock market. What is the return? 10%. So 10% I will consider here as the cost of that particular asset. Fine?
Okay.
Any questions? Students? Right? Now, I am taking you ahead to cost sheet only. So we are in cost sheet. But in cost sheet, I will now give you or take you to the technical cost sheet format. Okay. So we are in cost sheet. Cost sheet, we have cost object. Cost object is my last dinner, because somebody said yesterday I did not have dinner. So whatever was your last dinner is your cost object. Then another technical word which I added was cost unit, and that is of your single dinner. You can even take your family's dinner as the cost object, whatever. That is your choice, or that is what costing you need to do. Now, the most important thing is, in this whole example, we understood there are three components or elements of cost: material, labor, expense. Now, when we prepare cost sheet technically, how is cost sheet technically prepared? The technical format of cost sheet is, out of these components, now we rearrange them. So direct material, direct expense, and direct labor, I put it together. So all my direct materials, I'll take it at one place. All my direct labor, all my direct expense, and I will make an interim total, which is called as the prime cost. Now see, we are on the technical format of costing, and also mind you, this is the format applicable mainly for the manufacturing sector. And obviously, when I say manufacturing, it is of goods. So out of all these costs, now I will rearrange them because I want a proper systematic format. Like how when you prepare your financial statements, the balance sheet also has to be arranged in a proper format, either from solid to liquid or from liquid to solid. So that is why when we go from solid to liquid, we first consider all items like your land, building, then you come to plant and machinery, then you come to furniture fittings, then you come to your investments, and then you go to the most liquid item, which is cash in hand. So that is a rearrangement of your items. So there is a sequence, there is a format. Same thing is over here in cost sheet. So out of the three elements of cost, I will take the direct material, direct labor, and direct expense at one place. I will make an interim total. This is called as the prime cost. Again, no word is used without a meaning. What is the meaning of the word prime? Prime has the first meaning. It is the most basic. And interestingly, if you see, what does your direct material covers? Direct material mainly covers all your raw material. Direct labor mainly covers all your production labor. Direct expense mainly cover items like royalty, etc., without which you cannot manufacture that item. So these are those basic costs, or these are those very initial costs without which your production cannot happen. And that is why the cost sheet has arranged them first. And they have named the total of this as prime. Prime means most basic, most important. Without this, the product itself cannot come into existence. That is why it is prime. Now, you have these indirect items: indirect material, indirect expense, and indirect labor. So you have three indirect items: indirect material, indirect expense, indirect labor. These are collectively referred to as overheads. Another technical word in costing. In fact, this particular term is used in day-to-day life also. Many people say कि मेरे business के ये overheads है. What is overheads? Overheads means besides the main cost, besides the most basic cost, you have some additional cost to run the business. These additional costs may not be seen as a very direct cost. Like let us say if I'm in the trading business, please take example, trading business, then the material or the goods which I'm purchasing for selling, the purchase cost is my prime cost. But for running the business, I require space. So the space related expense like rent or depreciation, repair, maintenance, then I require employees for handling my business. All these becomes my overheads. So the main cost, the basic cost, or the identifiable cost, that is all the direct costs, direct material, direct labor, direct expense is the prime. And what could not be easily identified, but it is also important. See, please understand, indirect does not mean that it is not important. In fact, indirect is equally important. Without the space, you cannot operate the business. Without the labor force, you cannot operate. Without today's system, you cannot operate. So all these are integral. It is not that prime is only important and overheads are not important. Both are important, but prime is the basic one, because without raw material, without the production worker, the product may not even come into existence. And then the additional costs, which are equally important, are the overheads. So all indirect material, indirect expense, indirect labor is overheads. Now within overheads, we make a further bifurcation. So overheads are then split into three categories. This is function-wise bifurcation. So you have production overheads, you have administration overheads, and you have selling and distribution overheads. So what am I doing is, I am reclassifying the overheads on the basis of the functions for which these overheads are used. So all my indirect cost related to the factory, related to production function, related to the manufacturing function, like rent of factory building, depreciation of my plant and machinery, right? Then all the salary which I pay to the production workers or the manager or the engineer, correct? All the oil, grease, all these items which are used for lubricating the machine, for cleaning the machine, for keeping the machine in the right form. So all my indirect expenses, indirect costs, material, labor, expense, all which are related to the production function are classified as production overheads. Then those indirect costs which are required for managing the business, like it will majorly again cover rent, depreciation, repair, maintenance of all your office related assets. So it may be your office building, it may be all the furniture in the office. Office means the administrative area. It may be the computer and systems used. Then again, it will mainly cover the employee cost. Again, which employees? The administrative staff, the accounting staff. Again, most important, all your board of directors, they are also part of the management. So this total is my administration, or is my office, or is my management expenses or overheads. More correctly, it is overheads, but see, many terms are used, so don't get confused, because somebody may call it as expense, somebody may call it as administration expense. So it is administration expense or administration overheads. And then comes the next and the last function, to sell the product. Now there are two components. One is marketing and one is making it available to the doorstep of my customers, whoever they are. So marketing may have advertising costs. So all expenses relating to marketing are your selling costs. Now again, it may have rent, depre, and repairs and maintenance of all your selling department costs, plus of warehouse, plus of your delivery van, because these are the items which are used exclusively for your, delivery van will be warehouse and delivery van will be used in distribution. So repairs, rent, repairs, maintenance, etc. for warehouse, delivery van. This is your distribution, that is making it available. This is the distribution, and selling is the marketing part. This will have your employee costs, all your salesmen, the marketing team, etc. And again, the furniture, the systems, all these expenses which are linked to the selling function are called as selling and distribution overheads. So broadly, these were your original cost, rice, dal, etc., etc. Then cooking labor, then all your facilitated related cost, etc. Then we classified it into material, expense, labor. We further classified it into direct, indirect, direct, indirect, direct, indirect, and then we grouped it. All indirect were grouped together and named as overheads. Or direct were brought together, and the total of this was called as prime. Then the overheads, that is the grouping of all indirect, was further bifurcated into production overheads, that is all the overheads relating to the production function, to the administration function, and to the selling and distribution function, right? And then first I made a total, which is prime cost, which is total of all the direct items. Then to this, I added my production overheads. This becomes my factory or my works cost. So my first cost was the prime cost, that is a total of all direct items. To that, I added the production related indirect cost, production related material, labor, expense, but all indirect. That is the production overheads. That became my factory cost. To that, I added administration, the general administration cost. That becomes my cost of production. And when I add to this my selling related cost, this becomes my total cost in our normal wordings. In technical wordings, this is your cost of sales. Right? Now, this is the technical format of cost sheet. So first three direct cost total is prime cost. To that you add production overheads, it becomes factory or works cost. To add, you add the general admin, it becomes your cost of production. To that you add your selling distribution, it becomes your total cost or cost of sales. Now within this, in a business, you have stock. So the raw material related stock, that is raw material opening stock, raw material closing stock. This is adjusted while finding out direct material. That is why direct material is also called as raw material consumed. Why? Because I may have opening stock of raw material, I have done purchases of raw material, and I have closing stock of raw material. Now we know all this. It is a very basic formula. Opening stock of raw material plus purchases minus closing stock, that makes up your raw material consumed. So either you may have directly the figure of direct material given in the sum, or you have to compute the raw material consumed by taking these three figures, right? Similarly, when I've computed prime cost and to that I'm adding administration overheads, here I may be given in the sum my opening and closing stock of work in progress. This opening and closing stock of work in progress will be adjusted here to get my final factory cost. So prime cost plus production overheads plus minus opening closing stock of work in progress, that will give me my factory cost. Then you have administration expenses. Now there are two types of admin. It may be related to production or it may be general. I'm taking the general administration expense, that is all these general administration items. Now, when I add this, I get cost of production, but again, I have to adjust another stock, that is opening stock of finished goods, closing stock of finished goods. When I add less, I get another item, which is cost of goods sold. So up to this stage, when I took factory cost, I added administration. Okay, I'll write here itself. I added administration overheads. And then when I adjusted opening and closing stock, I get cost of goods sold. If I take factory cost, I add administration overheads, I get cost of production. In that, after that, when I add opening stock and adjust closing stock, what I get is cost of goods sold. And in this cost of goods sold, when I add selling and distribution overheads, I finally get my total cost or cost of sales. Now your sums may or may not have these stock figures. So you may have a cost sheet without stock, that is without opening closing stock, then only this will be your cost sheet without opening closing stock adjustment. And if it has opening closing stock adjustment, that has to be adjusted at relevant places, and then you get your cost. So in cost, the costs are computed at different stages: prime cost, factory cost, cost of production, cost of goods sold, and your final total cost or cost of sales. So this is the technical format, or I will say the final format of cost sheet, but mainly relating to the manufacturing sector, that is for goods. Okay. Any questions on this? Students, any questions on this? Because we are on the technical aspect of cost sheet. Yes, I.
Sir, this factory cost, we have added work in progress opening and less closing work in progress. Whether it is
Correct.
renamed or same factory cost, sir?
No, see, there are two possibilities. In the question, you may not be given this. If it is not given, then prime cost plus production overheads is factory cost. But if it is given in the sum, then prime cost plus production overheads plus minus opening closing WIP, then what is there is your factory cost. So there are two types of sums. One is with stock data given, another without stock data given, because not every business may have stock always. Correct?
So we have to call it as a production cost, sir.
See, now these are interchangeable terminologies, but more preferable word is factory cost. It may also be called as production cost, but we generally avoid. Why? Because there is another cost called as cost of production. If I call this as production cost, then students may get confused that whether this and this is same. So just to avoid that, but you're right, this may be called as production cost, but I avoid, rather even our modules avoid, because then production cost and cost of production sound very similar, but they are different, right? So we will avoid using the word production cost. But you're
So
right.
prime cost plus indirect material plus
no. Don't say indirect material. Now say production overheads, because indirect material may also be used in admin and it may also be used in selling. So don't say indirect material. So prime cost plus all indirect costs related to production, that is production overheads, in which indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expense are covered but related to production, right?
Plus work in progress adjustments is factory cost.
And then that is factory cost, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yes, Omkar.
Sir, what is logic behind this opening and closing WIP treatment?
Okay, I'll explain. Tambeshwari.
Cost sheet and manufacturing account is same, sir.
Okay, fine. So I'll answer both these questions. Mohammed, just give me 5 minutes. Let me first answer this, then I'll take your question. So the first question that was asked to me is, sorry, I skipped. What was your first question, Beda?
Cost sheet.
No. Before Tambeshwari, what was the first question?
Sir, what is the logic behind this
opening closing stock adjustment? Okay, I'll explain it in terms of our accounts, because we all are very comfortable with accounts, right? In trading account, we have this opening stock, we have purchases, we have closing stock, right? Now, if I'm saying it is trading, it means it is of finished goods. You all agree to this, right? Now, please understand, I'll just substitute this purchase with another word, production, because if I'm a manufacturer, my trading account would look like this, right?
Yes.
Now, answering the first question, what is the relevance of the stock adjustment? See, if I want to find out my profit, like we get GP over here,
yes,
I know my production cost. If I adjust it with sales, please mark my words. Whenever I'm saying something, please pay attention to each word which I'm using, because I'm using each and every word very cautiously. So I have my production cost. If I directly subtract it from sales, will I get GP? Answer is no. Why? I'll give you an example. Let us take figures. See, if you take physical quantities, it would be easy to understand. So let us say 1000 units I have produced and I have sold 800 units. If I directly compare cost of 1000 units with 800 units, will I get the correct profit? Answer is no. I can never get the correct profit. Why? Because during the same period, you have 100 units in opening stock, and what was left at the end was 300 units of closing stock. Now, and that is how the sales matches with 800, right? So I had opening stock of 100 units of finished goods, which was produced last month or last year, carried forward to this current month or current year. In the current period, I produced 1000. So I have total 1100 units opening plus current production, out of which by the end of this period, what is left in my stock is 300. So obviously what is sold is 800. Now in my trading account, the sales value which I'm getting is obviously of 800 units. So logically, the cost also should be of 800. Otherwise, I will never get this figure, correct figure of profit. So answering the first question, right? Who has asked me, I just forgot the name, whether why do we have opening closing stock adjustment? Because without that, you will never get the correct figure of profit. So I have my production of 1000 units, but I cannot directly compare it with sales. To get logical answer for profit, I need to adjust stocks at all stages as they happen. So I hope I've answered the first question. Whose question was that, Beda? About stock? I hope I could answer
Omkar.
Omkar. So
Yes,
you are satisfied? Understood the answer?
Yes, sir, I understood.
Super. Tambeshwari, now I answer.
Here work in progress and finished goods both are different, na sir?
Obviously. Now I'll come to work in progress stock also. This will answer even Tambeshwari's question. Tambeshwari, please repeat your question, Beda.
Cost sheet and manufacturing account is same, sir.
Okay, good question. Now I'll show you manufacturing account. Now, my first question to everybody is, have you all studied manufacturing account in your financial accounts?
Yes, sir.
Students? No? Don't say this. If you have studied foundation, you should have studied manufacturing. What is happening?
Production account, sir.
Okay, manufacturing account, production account. So now I'm preparing financial statements of a factory, that is a manufacturer. In that, before the trading account, see, you have these trading P&L we have always prepared. But if it is a manufacturer, before trading account, you have a manufacturing account. Now try to recall, students, those who have prepared this manufacturing account, your item is raw material consumed. Your item is direct wages. Your item is direct expenses. Your item is production expenses. I hope you all remember this in accounts.
Yes, sir.
Students,
Yes, sir.
also you have opening WIP. You have closing WIP. And then
Yes,
what is
sir.
this balance? What is this balance?
Production of selling.
By
sales.
trading account. Sorry,
Trading
beta.
account.
By trading
Sorry, sir.
account, it is this cost, the cost of those 1,000 units which I showed you in trading account. I have manufactured or produced these 1,000 units. And the cost of these 1,000 units, which I am getting from my manufacturing, is transferred to my trading here. And in trading, you have opening, closing, finished goods. After adjusting that, the net result of these three figures, please pay attention. The net result of these three figures is my cost of goods sold. How? 100 plus 1,000 minus 300. How much is left? 800. What I am getting it? Cost. Cost of 800. What is 800? 800 is my goods sold. And what is this 1,000 which I got here? This 1,000 is my cost of goods which I have produced. So it is my cost of production. And for getting this cost of production, first I computed RMC. RMC is opening raw material plus purchases minus closing raw material. To that I added direct wages to add, I added direct expense to add, I added production expenses or production overheads. In that I adjusted opening, closing WIP. What is left is my production cost of those 1,000 units. Now relate it with your cost sheet. You'll find everything similar to cost sheet. See, RMC, it is here, right? Then direct labor, it is here. Then direct expense, it is here. Then your production overheads, it is here. Then your opening, closing WIP, it is adjusted. And what is left is what we call as factory overheads, factory cost or works cost, that you can say is your trading account balance or cost of production, which we transfer from manufacturing account here, right? Now here we have shown admin expenses. If these admin expenses are related to production, they are even considered here. So in production, you also have admin expenses in your manufacturing account if they are related to production. Correct? Then after adjusting this admin cost related to production, what you get is cost of production. It is this amount. See, cost of production, which I transfer to trading here, right? And then to that, I adjusted my opening, closing stock. So it gets adjusted here. So what is left, the net of these three is my cost of goods sold, which we do not show separately in financial, but that is mathematically left out. And then when I adjust to this sales, what is left is my GP. And in GP, when you see, now you bring forward the GP here, what is then put over here is your general administration and your selling and distribution. So if there is general administration, it will be considered here and your selling and distribution. So it is adjusted here, and then what is left is your net profit. That is what I will get here also. If from this total cost, I subtract the sales value, I will also get net profit here. But this net profit and this net profit may not match because this is on estimated basis at the start of the year. This is on actual basis. There is bound to be difference. Tambeshwari, beta, I hope I could answer you and everybody understood the linkage between cost sheet and even your financial P&L. Many things are very similar.
Okay, sir.
Correct na? Yes.
Correct.
Mohammed, now the next hand raise is yours. जिसका question answer हो गया है, हाँ, please remove your hand raise so that others may come.
Cost.
Yes, Mohammed. Mohammed.
Cost.
He had Mohammed. First, let Mohammed raise question.
Sir, why we not taking any GST or direct indirect taxes here?
Mohammed, I'll park your question for some time, but I'll answer it. Fine. I don't want to complicate that now, but I'll answer you. I'll show that also where it is reflected.
Okay,
yes.
Sir.
Shruti, I'm just going by the sequence of hand raise which I can see on my screen. Shruti, are you there? Arif.
Cost of goods sold.
Yes. What is
Cost
the
of
question?
goods sold.
What is the question?
Sir, I have to understand that what is the cost of goods sold?
But I have already explained. See, in your accounts also, you can find out what is cost of goods sold. See, the biggest problem is we are looking this as an English name. Forget about English. First, put it in your own mother tongue. How will you call, what will be called as cost of goods sold in your mother tongue? मैंने जो goods बेचे उसका cost, या जितने goods बेचे उसका cost. Correct? That is cost of goods sold in English.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Arif,
sir.
pay attention.
Yes.
Now, मैंने जितने
Yes,
goods बेचे उसका cost कैसे आया? मैंने 1000 units बनाए उसका cost. मेरे पास 100 यूनिट्स ऑलरेडी बना के पड़े थे पिछले महीने के, तो मेरे पास ये डेबिट साइड पे कॉस्ट हो गया 1100 यूनिट्स का. इसमें से शाम को मेरे पास 300 यूनिट्स बच गए, तो मैंने बेचे कितने यूनिट्स? 800. अब मैथमेटिकली ओपनिंग फिनिश गुड्स का कॉस्ट प्लस प्रोडक्शन वाले फिनिश गुड्स का कॉस्ट माइनस क्लोजिंग वाले फिनिश गुड्स का कॉस्ट, जब आप मैथमेटिकली ये करोगे तो आपको 800 का बचेगा. 100 का कॉस्ट प्लस 1000 का कॉस्ट माइनस 300 का कॉस्ट इज व्हाट इज 800 का कॉस्ट. और 800 क्या है? जो गुड्स आपने बेचे उसका कॉस्ट, इसलिए उसको कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड बोला. ट्राई टू कन्वर्ट इट इनटू योर मदर टंग, यू विल अंडरस्टैंड इट बेटर. अंडरस्टूड आरिफ?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
ओमकार.
Sir, will the per unit cost of opening and closing WIP will be different? And if yes, on what basis, sir?
गुड क्वेश्चन बेटा. ओपनिंग का कॉस्ट डिफरेंट होने के चांसेस है फॉर द सिंपल रीजन ओपनिंग इज ऑफ पास्ट पीरियड and my past period inflation, my past period prices may be different from my current period prices first. So practically opening closing will have a different cost per unit. Closing का cost per unit generally current cost per unit वाला ही आएगा because आपने वो current में से ही बनाया. Opening का क्योंकि पिछले साल बना था, last period में बना था, there is a possibility it could be different. However, there is a counter to this, there is an exception to this. In cost, since we are taking estimated, we are not taking actual. So if my estimates remain same, like I'll give you the best example. Somebody will say, sir, estimate same कैसा हो सकता है? Best example is Parle G. Right from my childhood, I have been eating Parle G. Till date, Parle G is there. And at least for around 10 plus years, Parle G का per packet price 4 rupees या 5 rupees ही था. How it could manage despite of the inflation becoming 3 to 4 times in that period? Because many times in cost, we only take the estimated figure. So ये थोड़ा सा बेटा बहुत technical है. Maybe you'll understand this more better as we proceed with costing. But for the time being, answering you, you are correct. There is a possibility that opening ka price would be different. And question is why? Because it is based on last year's prices. So inflation was different, prices were different. Right, beta?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any further questions left? We prepare, estimate, cost, accounting before production. See, costing is done before production. Costing is done at the start. See, costing can be done anytime. Understand this. You can do it even before starting the business. When you will study another subject, financial management, वहाँ पे you will be taking decisions की whether I should invest in a particular business or not. And how do you decide whether to invest in a particular business or not? On the basis of the expected profits and the returns. And to find out expected profits of any business, you have to do first costing of that business. So costing can be done as early as even before starting the business. Then it would be before starting the production. It would be even at the time of production. So costing can be done anytime. Even after completing production, you can do costing, then that would be on actual cost basis. So costing is something, it can be done multiple times, and every time you will get a different figure, because the more closer you come to the activity, you start getting more correct figures, because otherwise costing is estimate, right? Shruti, sir, my mic is not working. Okay, no problem. Can you please read it? Yes, sir. In production overheads, we have salary for manager, and in administration overheads, we have employee cost. What difference? Better see, understand one thing, Shruti. Employee cost is same. In production overheads, we have the salary of production related workers, production manager, production staff, production supervisor, engineer. In administration, again, I have the same employee cost. Again, I have the salary, but now of my accounting staff, of my planning department staff, then I have the remuneration which I pay to my board of directors. Again, in selling and distribution, Shruti, again, I will have employee cost, but now it will be of the sales team. It will be of the sales manager. It will be of the driver who is operating my delivery van. So see, understand one thing. See, go back to this. Your elements of cost are three: material, facilitated, that is expenses, and labor. And then when we break it up into direct, indirect, out of this indirect material, indirect expense, and indirect labor, we club it here. And these three collectively are called as overheads. It means overheads has the same three items: indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expense. And then we bifurcate it function wise. So the overheads becomes three overheads: production overheads, administration overheads, selling distribution overheads. Shruti. So employee cost will be there in all three. Indirect material may be there in all three. Indirect expense may be there in all three, but relating to that function. I hope I've answered you, Shruti. Yes, students, any questions further? Anybody, any questions? Omkar? अगर आपका आंसर हो गया तो ड्रॉप योर हैंड.
Sir, are there any general and ledger entries in cost accounting?
Okay, generally no, because now I'll be answering somebody's previous question. What is the difference between financial accounting and cost accounting? Certain things are there in financial, but not in cost. So answering your question straight, there will be no such thing. Please ask your questions whoever I have put something in chat, because only I can see your hand raised. Rohit, you have raised your hand, beta. Please ask your question.
Sir, are there any charges which are neither directly and not indirectly related, but like audit fees and interest on loan? So how
See,
will we reimburse?
Audit fees is indirect. See, remember one thing, beta. All expenses that you incur are classified as direct and indirect. So if it is an expense, if it is a cost, it will be either direct, it would be either indirect. It may be either indirect material or labor or expense. Now answering, let us say, giving example or answering your question, you asked about audit fees. So audit fees is an indirect expense because it is a facility related cost. What is the facility? To run that particular business, you also need to audit the books of accounts and the cost records and the taxation records, everything you need to audit so that you can check the correctness of these. So you appoint an auditor for all these sections, and the audit fees are debited in administration overheads because it is for overall functioning of the business. I hope I've answered you, beta. Rohit.
Okay, sir.
Any further doubts?
But sir, if in advance we are ascertaining some products cost, so how will we ascertain those charges which we haven't incurred?
Okay. See, that is the charm of costing. This is the beauty of costing. And that is why if you're taking up any costing job in industry, it is generally a very highly paid job or a high paid profile. Even if you are in consulting of costing, it is a high paid profile. Why? Because costing is dependent a lot on estimates. Now, everybody would have a question, sir, how can I estimate? First question. Second, even if I estimate, what if my estimates are wrong? Please understand one thing. The entire business is run on estimates. I'll give you a very simple example. Even starting a business is an estimate or expectation that I will be able to sell and I will be able to earn profit. So you start business with that estimation. Second, which goods will be sold, which I should buy. I'm taking example of a trading example for simplicity of understanding. What I should stock, how much I should stock, all these are your judgments. Over a period of time, what happens as you, let us say, start doing a business, you start getting experience. Okay, these products are fast saleable. These products are slow saleable. These products are non-saleable. So then in the next period, you start changing your estimates. You start revising your judgments. So it comes with experience. So that is why the costing segment generally have senior people, senior not only in terms of age, senior in terms of their experience. Because only with the experience, their judgment and their estimates would be more near to precise. Now coming to the next question, sir, what if it is wrong? It is going to be wrong. No estimate can be right, but without estimate, no business can be run. See, I'll give you a very simple example, beta. When you all are preparing for your exams, you all are also going by an estimate. What estimate? Ki, okay, this question will be asked. I am not good at this. Let me drop it. Maybe I'll take a chance. It may not come. And even if it comes, I will compensate it by answering the other questions. I'll score more in the other chapters. So you all are also going by an estimate. If your estimate is disastrously wrong, so you fail. No problem. Next time you again reappear and you pass. So same thing is costing, because without estimation, nothing can be done in any business activity. Forget about business. Even our government is presenting budget. How? It is taking some estimates. No? It is going to now, it will start preparing estimates. The budget is prepared as early as November and December. It is presented in February, but the preparation starts as earlier this, and they have started taking estimates from all the sections of the society and economy. So it has to be on estimate basis, and there is a possibility that it may be wrong. But the more you are experienced, see, at least the repetitive factors, the judgment never goes wrong. Judgment generally goes wrong in the new factors. Like suddenly war happens, which was not expected by our budget. Suddenly pandemic came. It was not expected by any business. So those are erratic things. And that is what we call as abnormal. There is another classification, normal and abnormal. Right? Okay, Umang, you have some question, beta.
Sir, costing for any product or services, whether it is a one-time process or continuous process, sir?
Continuous. And again, within continuous, you may do one costing at the start of the year for the whole year. Then another costing maybe immediately before starting that particular production. Again, another costing after the production. So it is a continuous process, because as we just discussed, costing is estimate. Estimates cannot be correct. So the more you keep on repeating the process, it will help you. But still, I need one cost as early as before the start of the year. Why? Because I need to fix up a price. Again, I need a costing just before starting the production. Why? Because I need to plan this production. I need to check if somewhere my prices are going wrong or my first estimate is wrong. I may, maybe if possible, renegotiate the price. Even after production, I'll do costing just to confirm that whatever I did costing at the start, what all things went wrong, so that the next time when I'm doing costing, I will correct those. So this is a continuous process. It has to be done again and again and again and again, so that you come more closer to the correct cost. Fine. Are all these concepts clear to everyone? Right? Let me take you to module then. Just taking some concepts from module. This will also answer a few part questions. So we discussed certain terms, and I'll answer one question. You need not learn them verbatim. You will not be asked a question directly define cost. Now, those days are gone when they ask such direct questions, but still you need to know there is a rarest of rare possibility that in out of 10 papers, one paper may suddenly ask you for 1 or 2 marks define cost. But generally, these definitions are nowadays not asked. So, cost is the amount of resource. Now, see, what was cost in our understanding? It is expense incurred or which is attributable to your output. Now, they have taken the same definition, but they have expanded, saying cost is the amount of resource given up in exchange of some goods or service. So it is some technical wordings. If you see the simple wordings, it can be defined as amount of expenditure, actual or notional. We already discussed this, which is incurred or which is attributable to that particular product or service or activity. Fine. Then costing, what is it? Is the process of finding out, ascertaining the cost. What is cost accounting? It is the process of accounting. And what is accounting? It starts with recording and it ends with preparation of your periodical statements or reports. So what was your definition of accounting? Remains same. It is recording, classifying, analyzing, etc., etc., etc. It ends with reporting. The only difference is it is of the cost data. So when you do accounting of cost data, it is the cost accounting, and the books of cost accounting are different from the financial books because the names are different, the account heads are different, entries are different. We also have a topic on cost accounting that would be done later on. Now, all these concepts of cost accountancy, management accountancy are what is extension of the previous concept of cost and costing. So what is cost accounting? It is the application of cost and costing principles for the purpose of it is those, see, you have these typical theoretical definition. It is the science, art, and practice of cost control, etc., etc. Now, this is interesting. What is management accounting? So as we studied, what is cost accounting? It is the accounting of cost data. Now, what is management accounting? Same logic. It is the accounting for management. Now, somebody will ask me, sir, what do you mean by accounting for management? For that, again, I'll ask you all to recall the definition of management. If you all remember, maybe in some subject of economics or OC or something, you would have studied this in your 11th, 12th commerce. What is management? Management is defined as planning, staffing, directing, controlling, decision-making. I hope you all remember this. Now, if this is management, what is management accounting? You have to do accounting so that the management can do their functions in the most effective manner. Example, I have to do planning. The first basic function of management is planning. It starts with planning. But for doing planning, I need some data. Who will give me this data? Some accounting department. That accounting department is management accounting. Another important function of management is decision making. Now, in order that I take some important crucial decisions, I cannot take decision in air. I need concrete figures on the basis of which I will take decisions, whether I should or I should not do a particular thing. Now, again, from where these figures will be derived? From my accounting department. And that accounting department will be called as management accounting department. That is why you have a term called as MIS. This you'll come across in many subjects of audit also and other subjects also. MIS is Management Information System. So the management, in order to perform their function of planning, directing, controlling, decision-making, etc., they need data. This data is provided by their accounting department, which is the management accounting department, and the data is the MIS, Management Information System. Then you have cost management. It is what? It is managing the cost. And what is managing the cost? It is, again, what is management? It is planning, controlling, directing. So planning the cost, monitoring the cost, controlling the cost is cost management. Now, why we should do costing and cost accounting? Answer is first, so that you know your cost, ascertaining cost. Second, so that you can fix your price. Then comes most interesting part is cost control, cost reduction. So as I was mentioning at the start, even not-for-profit organization requires costing. One, Patanjali will require because it also have to fix price. But if let us say there is somebody who is not selling anything, he is only doing philanthropic, like some hospital, like some education institution, they are not charging any fees, assuming it is totally free. Still, they will require costing and cost accounting. Why? They need to control their costs. They need to reduce their costs. And also, costing and cost accounting helps in making decisions or taking decisions. That is why cost accounting and management accounting are put as one subject, because management accounting, which is accounting for doing management, requires lot of data from the cost accounting. And that is why this subject is put together. We have 3 chapters in our cost accounting syllabus: budgeting, standard costing, and marginal costing. These 3 chapters, Sen Gupta sir was also mentioning this about these subjects at the start of his deliberation. These 3 subjects are the management accounting subjects. What are these? Budgeting, decision making, it is marginal, and for controlling, it is standard. So budgeting, standard costing, and marginal costing. These are the 3 management accounting topics. So objectives of cost accounting is doing all these things. Now, in the objectives, you were given cost control, cost reduction. Many times people mix both these things. They believe that controlling costs and reducing costs is same. Answer is no. I'll give you a simple example. The difference between control and reduction in general. So let us say, normally students complain this when I just have personal interaction with students or some of their issues relating to studies. A common problem comes, ki, sir, I sleep a lot. I sleep for 10 hours a day, which is not correct. 7-8 hours is sufficient depending upon your body time. 10 hours is too much. Now, you come to me seeking some guidance, sir, how can I reduce this 10 hours sleep? I will give you some tips. I'll give you some techniques how you can reduce the 10 hours to 8 hours. That is cost reduction, because that is reducing what is there at the present. So presently you are incurring 100, you want to bring it to 80. Now this is possible only, one, if your 100 was wrong because unnecessary you are incurring extra costs, there were losses. So I can reduce that, so it will become 80. Or by improving the methods of production, by bringing substitute in material labor, I may achieve better efficiency in production, and by that I may reduce the cost. But reduction is not possible always. Like once you bring your sleep from 10 to 8 and maybe 8 to 7, it may be difficult to bring it even below 7. Yes, 1 or 2 days is fine, but doing it for the whole life is not possible in general. So reduction has a limitation. Now let us say you have brought your sleep from 10 to 7, which is the ideal level, which is also suiting your body. Now the next role comes is of controlling. Controlling means now maintaining that at 7, now not allowing it to go beyond 7. So reduction may be a one-time process, but maintenance, that is control, is a daily process. So once you have achieved a level of cost, let us say you have reduced your cost from 100 to 80, and let us say 80 is now ideal. It is not possible to go beyond that until and unless there is some breakthrough in some technology or some new raw material is discovered. Till then, 80 is the ideal cost. In this particular case, to maintain 80, whatever efforts you'll be taking daily, whatever management you'll do, whatever monitoring you'll do, that is cost control. So reduction is bringing your sleep down from 10 to 9 to 8 to 7, reaching the ideal level, that is reduction. And once you reach the ideal level, maintaining it at that level is control. So that is the basic difference. I'll request all to just go through these theoretical points. If anybody has a question, we'll take up in the next lecture. At the start of the lecture, I'll first take the doubts. So what is the scope of cost accounting? What all things cost accounting covers? It covers the costing and cost accounting part. Then it covers analyzing the cost, because without analysis, you cannot do costing. Without analysis, you cannot do controlling, etc. Then comparison comes. Again, without comparison, you cannot find out where you are lacking. Like if you want to improve your studies, you have to compare it with someone who is studying better or who has done better in his previous exams. So that is why cost comparison also helps you in achieving the ideal level of cost. Then controlling the cost, that is maintaining the cost, whatever you have achieved, preparing reports and doing the statutory compliances. Like how we have compulsions in accounting. You have to prepare your accounts, you have to present it to your board of directors, then to your shareholders, then to government, then to bankers. In the similar fashion, even costing reports, in certain cases, when you will study the Companies Act in your law subject, you will come to know that even for cost accounting and for costing, there are some statutory requirements embedded in the company law. So that is what is the statutory compliance. So wherever it is applicable, you have to also submit cost reports. You have to get the cost audit done. So those are the statutory compliance part of cost accounting. Now comes the interesting part. Relationship between this subject and the other subject. So first is relationship between cost accounting and management accounting. So comparison or relationship. So as we already discussed, cost accounting is the part or the accounting which is relating with accounting of cost. So it will only cover the cost data. Whereas management accounting will cover all those data which are necessary for planning, directing, staffing. That is all the managerial functions. Now what will be the difference? Cost will be only quantitative. That is, you'll only have figures, maybe in units or in rupees. But management may require, besides figures, other factors which may not be in figures. Like, I want to know what is going to be the trend in future. I want to know what will be the impact of America election results on Indian economy. I want to know that in the next upcoming season, what would be the change in the behavior and preferences. So basically, we require qualitative data for our planning, for our decision making. This qualitative data is what you would have studied in your 11th standard economics. In law of demand and law of supply, you have many assumptions that this remains same, this does not change. So all those are qualitative data. Then what is the purpose or objective? The purpose of cost accounting is to know your cost and to record it. What is the purpose of management accounting is to find out the figures and report it to the management so that the management can perform their functions of planning, decision making, etc. Area, cost accounting obviously covers only the costing part. Management accounting is much wider. It has costing part also because cost is one important figure or information that is required for many managerial functions. Besides that, it requires financial, it requires taxation and so many other things. So the management accounting is much wider. Then recording of data, development, etc. Now, somebody has asked me, sir, what is the difference between financial accounting and cost accounting? So first, most important difference is that cost accounting is only going to record your cost related data. Financial accounting will be recording your finance related data. Now we'll say, sir, what is the difference between cost data and finance data? Simple example. I was also referring to somebody, I was answering to that person, that in financial, you may have certain entries or certain figures which may not find place in cost because those are pure financial items. Like when you raise finance, you have to pay dividends, you have to pay interest on long-term loans. These always appear in your financial books because they are pure finance related. But what is pure finance related may not be cost related, so they will not appear in the costing books. So the difference is there are certain items which are related to pure financial part, which is not relating to costing part. So it is there in financial accounting, but not in cost accounting. Vice versa. There are certain things which are only there in cost accounting, but not in financial accounting. Example, the notional items. Like in financial accounting, you do not show salary to the owner. You do not show rent to the owner for his or her premises. Why? Because you don't pay it. So once you don't pay it, there is no financial outflow. So there is no recording. But in costing, we need notional cost also. So we will even report the non-cost or the out-of-pocket expense in cost accounting. So that is the difference one. Second, as you saw in your accounts, the name of the expenses is what? In your trading P&L, the name is purchases. It is some direct wages. It is some rent. It is some printing and stationery. It is some repairs. But in your cost accounting, the names are not this. When you will go to the chapter of cost accounting, the ledger account that we will prepare, the entries that we will pass will obviously be covering expenses, but the name will not be purchase. The name will not be your regular names used in your financial books. So the expenses are same, but here the names are raw material. Here the names are production overheads. Here the name is selling and distribution overheads. So you may not have those names in your financial. So the terminology used is different. Another difference is the reports. So financial accounting provides you the financial reports, which will show you your financial position, like the profit and loss will show you the financial position, cash flow will show you the financial position. Cost accounting does not have these reports because it is not required to show the financial position. For that, you have the financial records. So what cost accounting will do? Cost accounting will show the cost position. So it will give you cost sheet as the first report. So you know how much is my cost. It will give you the cost comparison, which will help you in doing cost control, cost reduction. It will give you the report, which will help you in estimating cost. So the reports are different. So this is the broad difference between the financial accounting and the cost accounting. Again, the users of information. Financial accounting, generally the users are outside the organization. So financial reports are given to shareholders, to all your investors, to bankers, to government, to other agencies. So financial reports are for outsiders. Cost report is very secretive. You never share your cost reports with any outside agency except where it is mandated by law. So only where the law will require that, okay, the product that you are manufacturing is of national importance, so the cost records will be checked by some government agency, or you have to give it to some government agency, only then you will share your cost data with them. Otherwise, you will not even share it with your shareholders. Because why? Because costing is the most sensitive data. My entire business runs on my cost. If my cost data is leaked outside, my competitors will get to know and it may not be good for my business. So the users of information for cost data are generally only the inside team, and that also within inside may not be every director may be knowing about cost. We don't inform it even to all directors. It is only the person who is related with that will be knowing this. Fine. Then you have difference between management accounting and financial accounting. It is simple. Financial accounting is only related with the financial part. Management covers costing, financial, taxation, everything. So management is much wider than financial and cost accounting. Then you have roles and functions of cost and management accounting. It's fine. I'll just skip. Then you have users. I already explained internal and external users. So for all cost data, generally the users are internal only. External, we never share our cost data with them. Even the management data will not be shared with outsiders because it is very risky for your business. But I said there is exception. What is exception? Regulatory authorities. So if there is by law some compulsion that you need to share this cost data with a particular government organization, you do that. Obviously, auditors you have to share because they have come for auditing. Shareholders, we generally do not share our cost data and management data with the shareholders because it is not required. Yes, we may share some reports for their reference, but our entire cost data is not shared. And for creditors and lenders, again, it is not shared. So cost data is not shared with these people. Now, coming to an interesting theory question. Essentials of a good cost accounting system. Now, what is a cost accounting system? So till date in my organization, I was not doing costing. I was not doing cost accounting. That is, I was not having any mechanism to find out cost, nor was I having any mechanism to report that cost or record that cost. I was having no costing books. Now I want to start this. Now, when I want to start this, there are two questions to be answered. One, what are the qualities that should be present in this system so that my system is good, it is useful? And the second question is, what are the points I need to keep in mind before I start this system? Now, this may sound technical, but I'll give you a very simple real life example. So let us say, after becoming a chartered accountant, you want to start your office. Now, there would be two things that you will consider. One, what are the essentials of a good office? So you want to set up an office. So you want to know what are the features of a good office. And second, you also want to know what are the points that you should keep in mind before you go to the, or before you buy or rent out a place. So for your new office, there are 2 points. One, what should be present in your new office to make it the best office? So those are the essential features that should be present in your office so that you will have a best office. Second, what are the factors? What are the points you should consider before you get this new office? So these are the two differences. So first, I go to what are the features of a cost accounting system. One, it should provide the relevant information and it should be simple to understand and operate. Second, the information which my costing system is providing has to be accurate and authentic, because if it gives me a wrong information, my costing, my pricing, entire thing will go for a toss and it will be a huge loss for the business. Most important, the results should be uniform and I should be getting consistently accurate results. Most important, I already have a financial system. I have to check, can I integrate the financial and the costing system? Will it be matching each other? So that is another consideration. Next, as the time changes, many things in the organization would change. Maybe I may add new products. I may go into new fields. So my system should be such that it should be able to include all these things and it should be able to adapt to all these things. Further, it should be flexible enough to introduce technology also, because now slowly and steadily everything is getting into technology. When I started my CA course in the year 1998, everything was handwritten. When I reached my final, slowly and steadily small software started creeping in. Today we have AIs which are doing this. So whether my costing system can adapt to all these new technological changes, so it has to be flexible and adaptive. And most important, my management should believe in that costing system. Why? Because management is the one who is going to finance the entire costing system. If management itself feels that it is useless, iska koi fayda nahi hai, so over a period, the costing system will die. Nobody will be doing costing and cost accounting in my business because the management will not support it. So the management should have faith, should have confidence that no, I should have this costing system because it is beneficial for me. So once management has faith, it will continue. Now, what are the factors which I should consider before I implement this new costing system? So till date, I was having no costing and cost accounting. Now I want to start. Now in the previous question, I've seen what are the qualities of a good costing system. Now I want to start this costing system. So I want to find out what factors I should keep in mind. मेरे दिमाग में क्या बातें ध्यान में रखनी है? अपन बोलते हैं ना भाई, ये करने के पहले ये बातें ध्यान में रखो. So कौन सी बातें ध्यान में रखनी? पहला, please always remember कि why you are having this costing system. This is the first most important question that you should keep in mind, so that you will buy or you will design a costing system which will match your objective. See, there are multiple objectives. You can do costing, you can do price fixation, you can do cost control, cost reduction, decision making, everything can be done. But do you require all these things? Because you will say, nahi, mujhe sab chahiye. But jab jo bhi aapko sab chahiye, then the cost will increase of the costing system itself. And if it is very costly and if it is not giving that much benefit over a period of time, the management will stop using the costing system and it will close down. So firstly, find out the objective so that you will buy or you will design a costing system accordingly. Next, first check what is the nature of your business. Is it in the manufacturing sector? Is it in a particular service sector? Within service, which service sector? Because the data the costing system will use and the reports the costing system will give will change with the business and the industry. So you need to design your costing system according to your business or industry. So study that first. What is your organizational hierarchy? See, any system needs to check the hierarchy. Who will be lowest? Who will be doing what? So you need to check that. Again, knowing your product, because product-wise, the cost sheet format will change. Again, the cost unit may be different for different products as we discussed. For some, it may be per piece. For it, some may be per bag. So your costing system has to incorporate all features relating to your product. So understanding the product or the service, whatever it is. Understanding the production process so that you can find out the cost appropriately at each stage. Most important, as I already mentioned, can we synchronize the information, because similar information is also given by my financial system is also recording expense. It is also recording so many figures which I require in costing system. So when I'm installing a costing system, just check, can I synchronize, can I link both? Then as you have different methods in accounting, like you have FIFO, LIFO, you have so many options. Even in your depreciation, you have straight line WDV. Then while representing the depreciation, you can show cost and the depreciation reserve separately, or cost minus depreciation WDV. So you have different options in your financial accounting. Similarly, you have methods in your costing also. Integrated system, non-integrated system. Again, you have to plan out of this which method you want to adopt. Again, when you are installing a system, obviously, you have to ensure that all the requirements under various laws, if a particular audit has to be done, if a particular report has to be done, that should be done with my system. And most important, why the system is prepared, so that you get the information at the correct time with accuracy, and the reports are proper in correct format. So before fixing or designing a system, ensure that all these things are done. Most important, cost accounting with the use of technology. Now we all know everything is technology driven. We started with MIS. Now we have ERP solutions. ERP is all the different softwares. The ERP solution is linking the entire business functions. So obviously cost accounting will be linked with that. So we have to keep this in mind, that whatever costing system is there should now be linked and should now be synchronized with the technology or the information technology part. And then these are the points relating to technology, coding, etc., etc. Right? Student, just give me a minute. Just one small break. Yeah. So now we'll complete the remaining small topics. This we already discussed. We'll just go through the module. So cost object, I already explained. It is the product, the goods, the service that you are dealing in, or any activity for which you need to do costing. So they have given examples of goods and service and all types of activities or a project. For whatever thing you want to do costing, that is your cost object. So cost object is that thing, goods, service, activity for which you need to do costing. Then comes cost unit. As I said, I am doing costing, but when I have to express the cost, I have to express it per something. It may be per unit, it may be per packet, it may be per can, per bag, whatever is that unit for which I have to express the cost. That unit is called as cost unit. Now this unit will change from product to product. So for automobiles, we always need to express the cost per piece. that is per car, per truck. So the cost unit is the number. But for cement, it is always coming in bags. So you need to find out the cost per bag. And at a bigger level, it is sold in tons. Similarly, for chemicals, it may be either per liter, per gallon. Some chemicals which may be heavy, it may be in terms of kilograms, etc. Power, we always measure it in kilowatts. So always the price which you get in your electricity bill, the price is 2 or 3 rupees per unit of electricity. So that unit is the kilowatt hour. Then in steel, generally it is per ton. Transport, it is generally per passenger or per kilometer or per passenger kilometer. So depending upon business, depending upon the product, the cost unit, that is the unit for which you need to express the cost, will change. So here there are multiple examples. Cost driver, I will just park this question because for understanding cost driver, you need to understand some other chapter, which is activity-based costing. So I'll just park it. We'll understand that when we study the concept or the chapter of ABC, that is activity-based costing. Then comes responsibility center. Now this is interesting. In cost accounting, we have 3 types of concepts: cost center, profit center, responsibility center. Firstly, what is a center? Center may be a place like a department, a branch, or it may be a person. I'll keep person pointers. Let us say a place. So let us say you have multiple departments in your business. You have multiple branches in your business. Now, what is a responsibility center? When I'm putting some responsibility on these branches, any responsibility, then these branches would be called as a responsibility center. So center means a branch, and I'm putting some responsibility, then it is called as a responsibility center. Now, what type of responsibility I may put? I may put the responsibility that you need to control your cost. So every branch I'm giving the target that, okay, you need to maintain your cost within this limit. Then those branches are called as cost centers. Or I may give them targets that, okay, every branch should give me 100 crores turnover. Then it will become a revenue center. Or the target which I'm giving is you have to earn me at least rupees 20 crores or maybe some 20% every year. Then when I'm giving them targets for responsibility of profits, they are called as profit centers. And when I'm investing a lot in any branch, because my branch is, let us say, a highly technical branch where plant and machinery investment is huge, or the investment in technology is used, then I'm always looking at the branch from the investment perspective, because I'm investing huge. Some 1,000 crores is going in one branch. Let us say Adani is setting up ports in different parts. So every port in a different part of the country is a center because it is one of the branch for Adani. And in every port, it is spending 5,000 crores, 2,500 crores. So it is now more focused on how much returns that branch would give me in relation to the investment. So that becomes an investment center. So basically, responsibility center means that branch, that place, that business department on which you have put some responsibility. And depending upon what responsibility you have put, it may be cost, revenue, profit, or investment center. Now we always talk about positives and negatives. So you have positives of cost accounting, but at the same time you have negative. First negative is setting up a cost accounting system may be expensive because you'll require skilled people. You'll require people with thorough knowledge, experience of costing and cost accounting. Plus you'll require computer systems and softwares. It cannot be done manually or orally. So this will be expensive. Most important, reconciliation. What is reconciliation? We all know. When you have multiple figures coming for the same thing, you need to match why there is a difference. Like figures of your bank coming from passbook also and from your own books from the bank account. So you compare why there is a difference. Similarly, in your business, one is your financial books, another is your costing books. Now both are dealing with the same business for the same year, but both may give you different profits. I had mentioned this in my explanation that the profit as per P&L and profit as per cost sheet may be different. So you need to reconcile and match why I'm having this difference. Both are correct now, only there is principal difference, then it is fine. So once there is a cost accounting system, you already have financial, so reconciliation headache will increase. And obviously, since you have multiple systems, multiple accounting, there would be duplication of work. So these are limitations, but I don't consider them as very big negative because the positives against this is very huge. And that is why today, every organization, maybe profit making, non-profit making, once it wants to grow, once it wants to be competitive, it has to have a costing and cost accounting system. Another very important theory concept is classification. Classification by nature or element. We already saw this. Material, labor, expense. Classification by function. We already saw this. It was production, administration, selling. Then comes classification by variability. Certain expenses are fixed. Certain are variable. Certain are semi-variable. What is fixed? You have any number of production, the cost remains same. Like in our LVC, any number of students are attending, our cost of running this LVC is going to be same. The cost will not change. Even there are 200 students or 500 students or 1000 students, then it will be a fixed cost. But if let us say tomorrow institute is sending you some books, like let us say module is sent, and let us say for LVC students some extra module is sent. Now, the more the number of LVC attending students, the institute will have to print more those modules or more those papers or more those materials to send to you. The cost will increase basis the student. So that will become variable. What is semi-variable? Semi-variable means where some part of it is fixed, some part is variable. Like your house electricity bill, even your mobile bill, many times. Where some component is the fixed rent, whether you use or not, 300 bill is always going to be there. And some part is going to vary with the number of usage. The more you use electricity, the more is the bill. Another example of semi-variable is where the semi-variable is fixed up to a limit, then it changes. Again, it is fixed, again it changes. Example, let us say Zoom. When we buy this Zoom on which we are conducting our classes, in Zoom, there is a limit of audience. So let us say I buy the Zoom subscription, which can accommodate 100. So it will be costing me, let us say 2000 per month. But if the student increases beyond 100, so up to 100, 0 to 100 or 1 to 100, I will incur only 2000 rupees. But let us say my students are going above 100, then I have to go to a higher level of Zoom subscription, which is for accommodating up to 500. So the moment my student count goes above 100, I'll have to buy the other higher Zoom subscription, or I have to upgrade the Zoom subscription, which will accommodate up to 500 students. So the cost will increase. So my cost was fixed up to 100 students. Any number of students up to 100, my Zoom subscription cost is fixed. The moment it crosses 100, my cost goes up. Now up to 500, it will remain fixed. Again, the number of student crosses 500, it will go up because I need to upgrade the system. For maybe up to 1000, it will remain fixed. So where the costs are changing after a level of production, that is another example of variable. Controllability, those costs which can be controlled are controllable. Those which are out of your control are uncontrollable. Normality, the cost which are expected, कि ये तो होना ही है, ये तो होगा ही, they are normal. Unexpected cost, suddenly happening cost, which could not be planned, which could not be judged, is abnormal cost. And then cost for managerial decision making. So for decision making, some costs are relevant. Okay, these costs will be required for decision making. Those are relevant. Which are not required for decision making, they are irrelevant. Now see, out of these, for some concepts, we have taken practical real life examples. Others, I'm only explaining theoretically because that you'll understand practically when we move to other chapters where those concepts are used. So for the time being, some I'm explaining only theoretically. Practical and the more deeper insight as you got for some concepts, that you'll get for the remaining concepts when we go to those chapters. I think we have completed, and this already format I explained to you. We just understood the format. So this is the classification of your cost by function, and this is also the broad format of cost sheet. So students, from my side, I have completed this entire chapter. I'll keep it open for any live questions if you have. We may have 10-15 minutes question answer, and then we may close today's session. Yes, students, please, you may unmute and start asking your questions. Sir, why costing in our syllabus when the work of CMA or CA? Arey yaar, you should be happy, na? Because you are getting an edge over CMAs also. So if your syllabus has costing, because the institute wants, and rather let me inform you, even chartered accountants have huge demand in industry, and you all have a very good area of practice even in the costing sector, and it is highly paying. I already mentioned, right?
Sir?
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, function classification of cost according to the function can be explained in 2 words, sir.
Simple. See, in my business, I have multiple functions, like I do production, I do managing, I do even selling. So when I bifurcate my cost, okay, what are incurred for doing production? What are incurred for managing the business? What are incurred for affecting the sales? So when I classify my costs according to the functions in which those costs are incurred, that becomes functional classification.
40.
Yes. Please go ahead. Those who are not speaking to me are requested to keep your mics on mute. Only people
Hello?
speaking to me will unmute. Yes.
Sir, can a system be both cost and profit based? Both
Can a system be both cost and?
profit based. Like you said, na, in the classification, it can be cost based, it can be profit based. So can it be both cost and profit based?
Cost and Acha, you are asking about the responsibility center, cost center, responsibility center.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. See, it is again, see, you have multiple branches. Just take example of any big business, Adani, Reliance, anyone. They have multiple businesses, they have multiple branches. So they may allocate responsibility of cost control also and of increasing profit also. That depends upon the nature of branch, right? Yes, students. Further questions, if any.
Sir, at which corporate level this cost system works in a real business environment?
See, it will work at all levels. There is nothing like it will work only at the higher level or lower level. It is now costing, as we discussed from the start, is now integral to any business which wants to escalate and succeed. Obviously, in small businesses, it is not possible to have a costing system because for costing, we already saw you require skilled staff who can do costing. It is not like accounting that anybody doing commerce can do accounting. That is not the case with costing. For costing, you require specialized knowledge. So obviously, when your business grows slightly, when you scale up your operations, when you have that special spending capability of having a specialized person, only then costing starts. Till then, small businesses do not have. But it has nothing to do with the level of business. It is doing with the scale of business.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Ramya ji, you may please connect with the technical team for your doubt about some chapters you are not getting. Na? Don't put me in my direct chat. You can put it to the technical team, Ramya ji. Yes, students, anybody else, any questions with the topic that we discussed? No?
सर अगर कॉस्ट डायरेक्ट इनडायरेक्ट में क्लासिफाइड हैं तो इसको वेरिएबल और सेमी वेरिएबल में क्लासिफाई करने की जरूरत क्या पड़ी?
Because the purposes are different. See, डायरेक्ट इनडायरेक्ट का क्लासिफिकेशन होता है क्योंकि कॉस्टिंग करते वक्त जो एक्सपेंस को आप इजीली आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हो डायरेक्ट है, जिसको नहीं कर सकते, जिसको कुछ एवरेजिंग और कैलकुलेशन लगता है वो इनडायरेक्ट, राइट? और फिक्स वेरिएबल का पर्पस अलग हो जाता है जब आपको उसको कंट्रोल करना है या जब आपको कुछ प्लानिंग और डिसीजन मेकिंग करना है, तब उसको फिक्स्ड है या वेरिएबल है, उसपे से आपका बजटिंग, कंट्रोलिंग ये सब डिपेंडेंट रहता है. सो सेम कॉस्ट, like we will be classifying you all into male female for some different reason. The same thing will be classifying on the basis of city for different reason. The same group we will be classifying on the basis of कि कौन direct entry है और कौन foundation से है. So the same group can be classified on different criteria क्योंकि हर एक का purpose और use अलग. So same cost can be direct, indirect, will be fixed variable depending upon why I am doing that. Right?
Absolutely. Just to add that, the purpose of classifying in a different way, the purpose is different. That's why, sometimes it is variable and fixed, and sometimes it is direct, indirect, sometimes element wise, sometimes nature wise. So if you go through the study material, you will find. So as sir has explained that the purpose of doing classification in different way is different. इसीलिए ये जरूरी है. And another student which was asking that, the importance of the cost paper. Actually, for any kind of decision making, if you want to go for a higher level decision making, cost and management accounting plays a very important role. So if you see across the world, even all the management institutions, so when you will be going up to the management, upper level, middle level, the use of cost and management accounting is huge, particularly in decision making process. And if you do not understand the cost, how will you control it? So you have to understand the basic concept of cost, and then only you will be able to control it. And when there is a cutthroat competition, I could hear sir spoke about that, and cost is probably the only savior. And when the recession comes, economy goes down, so then probably the cost element is going to save you. So how meticulous you are regarding the cost element, so that's going to decide everything, right? Any other questions, students?
Sir,
Yeah.
Sir, what is the difference between predetermined cost, standard cost, and estimated cost?
See, conceptually all are same, but when I say standard cost, it is more technically and more precisely computed because you have experts who are fixing the cost, calculating the cost basis certain tools. And when we say only estimate, it is like how you and me are estimating any cost. So predetermined cost, estimated cost, standard costs are at par in concept, but technically standard cost is more refined and more precise as compared to the other two. Other two are generalized. Generally, we are making an estimate that is estimate.
So when we are doing the standard cost, basically a technical committee is there in practical scenario. So as sir said, this is more technically sound, taking all factors into consideration, where other two are normally used in generic terms. In examination, like the way it has been explained in the study material, जहाँ पे है, आप उस तरीके से 1 or 2 line only with one example you can post. Okay.
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Satish,
Yes,
you have some question.
Sir, where expenditure, where some cost is negligible, while that is not direct cost.
नहीं, थोड़ा audible नहीं था. Satish, can you repeat loudly?
Sir, cost is negligible. Cost is negligible. Hello?
Satish, I'll request you, I think, type it because maybe there is some network issue at your end.
Till that time, Avinash can ask the question.
Yeah.
सर जो होल्डिंग कंपनी होती है वो सब्सिडरी को फंड अलोकेट करती है, वो कॉस्ट और रिटर्न के बेस पे होती है.
See, that is a financial decision, beta.
Sir,
It is not a costing decision. So it is fund allocation, getting returns of the funds or return on the funds is a financial aspect. ये आप थोड़ा सा financial management वाले topic में इसका
Financial
थोड़ा concern
accounting
है.
में, in fact, financial accounting में.
Yeah.
In the accounting topic, it will be covered.
Yes. Who else is there?
Satish, if you can type the question.
Yeah. Anybody else? Students? Also, I hope my pace was correct and you all were able to connect with all the concepts. And remember one thing, see, costing cannot be understood in one chapter, everything, because it is more about linking. Like many concepts were there, which maybe I have explained theoretically, but that you'll be able to feel when you go to some other chapters. So it is going to be a process and it is going to be fun. As we proceed with the chapters, you will find some earlier concepts getting more clear, more absorbed by you. So be regular and be live and keep asking questions.
And
Sir,
yes, please go ahead, Nitish.
सर जो लोन लेते हैं उस पे इंटरेस्ट पे किया जाता है, वो भी हमारे लिए एक्सपेंस है. शेयर कैपिटल के शेयर होल्डर्स को जो हम डिविडेंड पे करते हैं वो भी कंपनी के लिए एक्सपेंस ही है, तो उसको कोस्टिंग में कैसे देखा जाता है?
Good. See, there is a concept called as cost of capital. Now, जब आप इंटरेस्ट या कोई भी फाइनेंस कॉस्ट की बात करते हो, if it is cost of capital, it is not part of costing, it becomes a finance cost. बट जनरली जो हम वर्किंग कैपिटल लोन लेते हैं या जो हम डे टू डे ऑपरेशंस के लिए लोन लेते हैं, उसका जो इंटरेस्ट है दैट शुड बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ पार्ट ऑफ कॉस्ट. अब ये थोड़ा सा टेक्निकल है क्योंकि जब आप इसे कोई भी रेफरेंस मटेरियल में पढ़ोगे ना, उसमें काफी बार कंफ्यूजिंग होता है क्योंकि कहीं पे वो बोलते हैं फाइनेंस कॉस्ट आएगा, कहीं पे नहीं आएगा. बट द डिफरेंस इज जब वो कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल है, कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल क्या होता है, जैसे आपने कहा शेयर होल्डर्स या जो लॉन्ग टर्म फंड्स है, फिर वो डिबेंचर्स के फॉर्म में हो या लोन के फॉर्म में हो, उसका जो इंटरेस्ट है, दिस इज कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल. आप जब एफएम वाला सब्जेक्ट पढ़ोगे तो एफएम वाले सब्जेक्ट में यूल हैव अ चैप्टर ऑन कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल जहां पे आप वो उसका कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल, आईआरआर, ये सब कैलकुलेट करते हो. तो ये जो कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल है दैट इज नेवर पार्ट ऑफ कॉस्टिंग बिकॉज इट इज अ प्योर फाइनेंस कॉस्ट. पर जो डे टू डे ऑपरेशंस के लिए हम छोटे छोटे लोन लेते हैं, वर्किंग कैपिटल लोन लेते हैं, टेक्निकली the CMA, the Cost Institute and Management Account in London, it says that it should be considered as part of cost.
And when you will be doing this cost accounting system, you will get little more clarity on all these things, that how the profit is calculated as per financial accounting, how the profit is calculated as per cost accounting, and how both are reconciled. So you will have a better probably picture. But very good question. I must appreciate your question.
Yes, sir. There were very good questions, sir, in the
I was there.
I enjoyed.
Radhika.
Yes, Radhika.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning,
morning,
madam.
madam.
So my question is, when companies do cost leadership, will they conduct audit or they do it their own self?
See, what do you mean by cost leadership? First, explain me that, because many times the term may have a different meaning for you.
So when companies produce their goods and services at lower cost,
Okay. So
they conduct audit to identify the areas where they can reduce the cost, or they do it their own self. I want to know that.
see, it is always a dual process. First, when you are running a business, you know more about your business than an outsider. But yes, outsider, that is the auditor also, if he's a technically very sound person, like you have some cost consultants working in the field, you also take their advice. So it is a dual process. You need your own insights because you are the one who are handling the cost daily. So you know more about your day-to-day process and activities. Plus, at the same time, a technically sound person, a person with a good industry experience, who you can call as consultant or auditor. So both will add value in improving your cost, whether it is in terms of control or reduction.
And cost leadership is more of a strategic decision, how strategically we are doing it. So even when you'll be studying, strategic management in your paper 6B, you will come to know more about this cost leadership. So more of a
Okay, thank
strategic, part of it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So I think we could answer all the question. Majorly, but anyhow, if we are still there, and if you have any question in the next class, obviously you can ask those questions. And next class we will be discussing about material costing, and I will request the students to go through it. Go through the material, just prepare yourself, and then you listen to what sir is saying, what sir is explaining, and then probably it will be easier for you to grasp it.
It will be more connecting.
Who has not done it earlier. So if you don't have any further question, I think it's my duty to thank sir on behalf of Board of Studies.
It is my equal pleasure, sir. I am also part of our institute. So
I know that.
I don't need any formal thanks. In fact, I am obliged that I am given this opportunity.
Thank you all the students who are most important. They join in large number, and some of the queries were excellent.
Super,
Let me tell it to you, of a very high level thinking questions. And I would also like to thank my colleague CA Mayank, Mr. Ajit, who is working tirelessly for this, all the technical team. So thank you very much. Thank you all for making this program, our class, successful, and we hope that we will be able to continue in the same way. Thank you very much, sir.
And keep reading, students. It is going to be more fun to study a subject. Don't take it like a subject or only exams. The more you try to delve into it, you'll start enjoying the subject, and then studies would be fun. Thank you. Thank you all. Take care. Have a good day.
Goodbye, all. Best wishes.
Recording stopped.